Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Jank Tank episode number 56. My name is Timothy Zaccanino. I've got both the boys on the line, DJ Chrissy-Chris and MC Teld.
Oof, Chrissy-Chris.
Yeah, like Mikey Mike, you know. But
yeah, but Chrissy just, oh man, I don't like that, but continue.
Oh, Chris, I don't know. Crisscross Applesauce. There
Crisscross Applesauce, so that's cooler.
That's a good DJ name. Yeah, that's a good.
Crisscross Applesauce in the house.
All right, y'all ready to talk 2025 and look back at all these wonderful, fantastic sets that we got this year? It's actually not that bad. It's a nice little split of good and bad. We've got some opportunities to rail on things that happened this year, and we got some positive stuff to talk about too. But we're going to take a big picture cube look at 2025 and the main sets that came out, the biggest contributors from those sets, kind of talk about the sets in general. And, you know, how much they're contributing to Cube, how much we liked or didn't like some of them. And we get to talk about the worst Magic the Gathering set ever released as well, which is nice. So, yeah, that's going to be the name of the game today, looking back at 2025. Before we do any of that, remember, the best way to support Jank Diver Gaming and the Jank Tank podcast is to join the Discord server. Come draft with us. Give us your feedback. It's a great place to hang out with like-minded individuals, talk about Cube, Retail Limited, all things Magic. You can find links to that Discord server wherever you're listening to this podcast. And we host tons of scheduled drafts throughout the week, including the Peasant Cube on Saturday night. Seriously, come draft the Peasant Cube. Poor Peasant Cube hasn't gotten a lot of action lately. That's okay. The mainline Jank Diver Cube on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. F&M style drafts on Friday, where our players vote on a cube to play. Got a fun little story about that here in 2 seconds. And then various guest cubes created by members of our server throughout the week. There's always plenty to do on the Jank Diver Gaming Discord server. And you can find our socials on youtube.com/JankDiverGaming. And you can find Teld streaming on twitch.tv/Teld Talks. Teld, didn't you put out a YouTube video recently, right?
Yeah, I did one. We did a team draft of the Peasant Cube, and I had a pretty sick Gruul deck that I posted.
Oh, that was the one where you naysayed Bitter... what's the new enchantment from Avatar, right? Like, we got to get that out immediately.
Yeah, bitter work, yeah. I started kind of high on it and was like, oh, I think this could be good. And then by the end of it, I'm just like, oh god, this card is so bad.
we will talk Peasant Superlatives next week with Danelius, or within a week or two with Danelius, and I believe that somehow, spoiler alert, that made like Teld's worst card of the year somehow after exactly one draft. So it must have been pretty bad. But you can go check out that video on Teld's YouTube channel, which is also labeled Teld Talks. Quick story time. I just, you guys know Flutter, Fullerene, like fantastic admin for a Jank Diver Gaming community, just very mellow and chill and like highly skilled Magic player, kind of like everyone you want, every quality you want in a Magic player in your community. And just to kind of like highlight how humble of a human being this person is, we played the F&M draft this last Friday. Was people voted on Timmy Cube, which I believe was created by Oofies. Again, Oofies creates a lot of cubes for our community, but Timmy Cube, just kind of big, splashy nonsense plays. And I am in game 1 against 4, and he gets to... Do you remember that March of the Machine Chandra? That... It's like 6 mana, it adds mana to your mana pool, and then like it copies the first instant or sorcery you cast each turn. I don't remember the name of the Chandra, but you guys know what I'm talking about. He had that on board, added mana, and he cast this alchemy card called Ornate Imitation. So it's X blue-green. For each number between 1 and X, conjure a duplicate of a random creature with that mana value onto the battlefield. So he did X as 8 and copied it with Chandra, which meant he got 16 creatures from mana value 1 through 8, like 2 1-drops, 2 2-drops, 2 3-drops, 2 4-drops, blah, 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 blah. So he just dumped 16 creatures on board. There's like a Vorinclex in there. There's a Wormcoil Engine. He got a Myr Battle Sphered, right? But he didn't get anything that killed me right away. And he gives me 1 turn, I untap, and I cast Emrakul, the one that takes his turn. And it immediately passes to his turn, and he's got a Fireball in his hand. Right, like he could have killed me with the fireball last turn. Like he could have done the fireball and killed me, but he was like, we were both laughing, had a good time. He was like, I wanted to go for the super splashy like kill, so I chose not to fireball and win immediately and try to win the next turn. And then I ended up obviously fireballing him with his own fireball to kill him. But like, just a super fun way to end that game. Like he had the lethal kill, chose not to do it for the sake of like doing the big Timmy thing, and then lost because of it and took it in stride.
Oh my god, can you imagine how hard Doug would have freaked out if this had happened to him? He would have literally melted like ice cream on a hot day.
To be fair, I don't think, well, maybe he would have. Doug's got a fun personality to him, but I don't know if Doug would have given up the opportunity to just kill me with the fireball in that situation.
Maybe not. I don't know.
The Timmy lifestyle there.
Yeah, it was awesome too. It was just like, well, we know you won this game, but and I was like, because when you control someone's turn on Arena, like it's a lot of clicking because you got to control all of your phases and all your opponent's phases. And I was just like, hey, Fuller, do you want to just concede so I don't have to play through this? And he was like, yeah, I'll just concede. So it was super fun. We had a great time. But yeah, I just wanted a story moment there, and I would love to give any opportunity I can to shout out Floor. What a great guy, what a great admin for the community. All the Jank Diver game
solid gentlemen
are awesome.
Yes.
Enough about Floor though. Enough waxing poetic about the admin for JDG. Let's talk 2025. So we are going to look at all of the main standard sets that came out this year. There were 6 of them. We're not going to spend a lot of time on the kind of in the middle things that came out, unless you guys have specific things you want to say about them. But the things like the Arena anthologies and the Powered Cube that came out just last month, like actually flooded a lot of like Magic backlog onto Arena. So we did get quite a bit of stuff that I
should have played
really
it at least once. I didn't make any time for it. I didn't play the Powered Cube even one time.
Yeah, it's fine. I think the consensus actually, despite how much people played it, is that it actually wasn't that great of a cube. The story coming out that Boros was just insanely dominant, that not really where you want a cube like that to be, I don't think. But I didn't enjoy it. But a lot of people enjoyed it, and to the point where I think it killed a lot of enthusiasm for our cubes, right? Because people got a taste of this super high power stuff that a lot of people like, and then there was like, oh, we got to go back to modern power level or peasant power level. It's just, I think there was like a shock to the system for Arena players. But
maybe we need to get the truly unrestricted cube on the weekly rotation.
Actual unrestricted, the return of actual unrestricted.
Actual unrestricted, yeah.
The only set that came out in paper this year that wasn't on Arena was Innistrad Remastered, which was all reprints anyway, so there's no like paper stuff we really have to talk. Yeah, that was January. That was January.
Man, this was a long year.
It sure was. The quickest long year of all time for me. But before we talk about sets, let's talk some big picture stuff. So like I mentioned, and I don't know how much you guys want to dig into this or, shout out specific cards or anything, but like a lot of traditionally powerful Magic reprints were brought to Arena this year through anthologies, Power Cube, these bonus sheets we've been getting that are like 60 cards and full of mythics and big commander effects.
Blue especially just kind of got a bunch of stuff.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say Blue specifically. It was just like for years we've been like, man, it would be really great to have Cryptic and Ponder and Preordain and Force Spike, and then this year they were like, yep. All right.
Yeah,
you got it.
Mystic Confluence and Mana Drain. I guess Mana Drain was last year, but to the point where, like, at the end of this episode last year, I think we asked the question, like, what reprints do you want to see on Arena? And it's gotten to the point where it's like there aren't that many traditionally powerful effects in MTG that we really even need anymore. We've got a lot of the kind of classic stuff that we would want to play with anyway. So I kind of left that section off, but I don't know if anything springs to mind for you guys as cards really you're still hoping for, Well,
it's funny. We got some that I would have historically wanted, and then just, we just don't even play them. Like stuff like Fire Blast just aren't really good fits for our cube. I would still love a Lava Spike and a Cataxian Probe though.
Yeah, we'd probably play those, but yeah, dude, for the longest time I wanted Fire Blast, and we're not even playing that just because I have I have feelings about free effects. And like for a really long time I was like, man, the cube is not going to be complete until they give us Mystic Confluence, and they gave it to us, and we've just kind of arrived at a point where it's like, we know how obnoxious that's going to be, and we're just not even playing it.
So yeah, they coded all this stuff on Arena for the Powered Cube, so it's all sitting there, and over time they're gonna make it craftable, so we will be getting a lot more of this stuff. Eventually, the Power 9 and the dual lands will be craftable, and then I'm hesitant to like want it, but there's definitely going to be a part of our community that shifts towards wanting to play like timeless cube power level stuff more often, which is not what I would personally want to play, but we did see once Arena Powered Cube hit Arena that like people were like, oh, I don't want to draft these free cubes. I want to spend 10,000 coins to go 1-3
in a powered environment,
a cube where I may or may not open a Mox or whatever, you know.
Yeah, it's weird because like I acknowledge that it is a thing and I have to be in the minority for it, but it legitimately defies any it doesn't make any sense to me. You know, I just find our cubes substantially more fun than what these like super powerful environments are offering. But like the joy of like popping a Black Lotus into a, you know, turn 1 4-drop and winning the game for free isn't really like something that gets me going.
Yeah, you get a screenshot out of it, and then you just spent 20 minutes playing a best of 3, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess that was fun. I don't know. It's not for us, though, so it's kind of hard for us to give a level take on vintage cube style drafting when none of us are particularly into that in the first place. So
yeah, my feelings are more along the lines of, man, Peasant Cube's been getting really powerful lately. This is
yeah.
Is there like a Peasant minus? Can we get some weaker cards?
Pauper Cube time. Yeah, so point there being Arena's card pool kind of exploded out of nowhere. They released all these anthologies and the Powered Cube in like a month. They're like, here's a bunch of powerful cards. Congratulations.
Which, you know, was in response to it was the break glass in case of Spider-Man emergency, and we'll get to that.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to Spider-Man. So that leads into big picture point number 2, that Universes Beyond is officially a big part of Magic now. It's going to be even bigger next year with 4 out of 7 sets. This year it was 3 out of 6, though it did kind of showcase the good and the ugly, right? Because 2 of the Universes Beyond sets this year were really, really good, and one of them was the worst set ever made. So, you know, it shows that as much as we have gone on record saying we would prefer not to have Universes Beyond, that they can do this well. And, you know, for better or worse, it was very successful for Magic the Gathering this year, which means we're going to see way more of it in the future. From our perspective, White struggled a lot for the first half of this year. You know, White was kind of the thing that we honed in on. I think it took a turn. I think specifically when Final Fantasy came out and we got Dion, and then Edge of Eternities came out and we got Cosmogrand Zenith and a bunch of Anthem effects in the second half of this year. I think White has leveled out. But part of that is us just recognizing, like, hey, play into what White does and give him Lingering Souls for now. You know, get people a reason to start drafting Black, White, or White. And I think White's actually doing just fine these days. Not the best color by far, but it is important to note that, like, White was struggling pretty hard for the majority of this year.
Yeah, White feels like a color that is definitely playable at this point, but it is very volatile because it feels like the best cards in White are really, really good. And then it's kind of where Blue was a ways back before the card quality caught up, is that Blue had a few cards that we kind of let hang around that were probably too strong to be, you know, on the same power level as everything else, but we kind of let it be so that Blue could have functional decks. That was when we were playing stuff like Chrome Host Seed Shark, which is actually a card.
I was going to say, we put Shieldred back in here. The Shark can probably come back. Also, like,
it's on the admin
Blue decks have been showing up, but I think green is kind of feels like it's in the driver's seat right now, at least from just like looking at the trophy case. And a lot of the blue decks that have been successful are the more, we really have not been seeing a lot of control success. So I think we might need to take a pass at blue at some point. But
I mean, working as intended.
Fuck control.
One drops didn't really. The Cecil, I still don't know, from Final Fantasy, the black 2/3 Death Toucher. That's the only one drop from this entire year that's in our cube right now. Which one drop creature, there might be some spells in there, but like, Watsy, can we get something between Savannah Lions and Ragavan? There's got to be like a middle ground there that works. When we're not getting it. Remember when Aetherdrift came out and everyone thought we were going to get the vanilla 3/1 for 1, and then we just didn't get that, and it was like, would we have even played that? I don't know. But yeah,
I don't think vanilla 3/1 for 1 would have been a particularly good card.
No, but one drops definitely did not take off this year in a way that we kind of need them to. We've really cut back. I mean, this was the year that we finally said, you know what, Savannah Lions is not it. Savannah Lions.
We're not playing a single white Savannah Lions.
And if we're being real, a lot of these black 1 drops are probably here for nostalgia more than anything else. If we're being totally honest with ourselves.
I mean, I suppose I still think Blood Soaked is a good card in the decks that want it. Forsaken Miner is kind of an eyesore. I'd like to replace that, but
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think Bloodsoaked is fine in the decks that want it. Like you said, I don't think it's good, but I think it has a role. But I just mean that there are like 3 of that effect at 1 mana still, and I think that effect is pretty niche.
yeah.
Does segue into the last kind of major point here I made, and you feel free to add on to these points. These were just things that came to mind, but Aristocrats took a little bit of a turn. Black Sacrifice in particular with, some prints like Sephiroth and Sir Vondam and Zahur and Umbral Caller Zealot. Like
Elegy
somebody at
Acolyte.
Wizards, Elegy Acolyte, yeah, fits into this category as well. But like somebody at Wizards clearly identified that like Aristocrats is something that people like doing, either in Constructed or Command or whatever. And they wanted to make sacrifice cards that actually just hold their own. And that's how we ended up with things like Sephiroth, Fabled Soldier, and these cards with actual real stat lines that could contribute to combat while also doing things. I wonder if we get through 2026 and still have Blood Artist in our queue, but it feels like we're going to get to the point
We
where
might not.
get a stronger Blood Artist, Marionette Apprentice style card. So Aristocrats starting to look a little heftier, to the point where, after the addition of Lingering Souls and Sephiroth, like people were like, "Oh, is Black White too good?" It was
Yeah,
like
that's funny.
a month ago it was like Black White's unplayable, and now it's like, is Black White too good? It trophied like 3 weeks in a row. So I really love seeing the direction they took some of this Black Sacrifice stuff this year.
Yeah, I mean, Sephiroth is just clearly crazy push, yeah.
Yeah, it is, because we cut Yawgmoth for just kind of being completely broken, right? But the deck I think was in a situation where and this is how they traditionally designed Aristocrats, is like most of your cards suck to make the cards that make your cards that suck into an engine really, really powerful. And I think when we cut Yawgmoth, we basically kind of castrated the deck a little bit, which is fine. I still think that was a good decision, because like having a deck be competitive, because sometimes you draw the one card that you kind of can't lose if you draw it. That's not good design, I don't think. I don't think Sephiroth is as broken as Yawgmoth is in a deck that like really fully optimizes it. But the thing about Sephiroth is like Sephiroth is actually just like kind of a solid fucking card, even if you're not going really hard on that deck. So I think Sephiroth was a huge get. But to your point, Tim, we also got some other cards. And I know it's just a 1-drop, but like Runeblade Razor is just kind of like what a Gutterbone style card needs to be, which is to say that it comes back once for free and you don't have to overpay to put your shitter back on the board.
It does remind me that Gutterbone's effects are like pretty underpowered in general, because I don't think Runeblade Razor is a particularly great card, although it is totally playable. I think Sephiroth is a good middle ground. I think it's the kind of powerful card that the Black Sack decks want, but it doesn't, like you mentioned, it doesn't quite go the full-blown Yawgmoth. A lot of times has this feeling of like, it resolved, therefore you lose. And Sephiroth doesn't usually have that same sort of vibe. I mean, it can, but you oftentimes need like a big board and a open-ended sack outlet to go with it, of which I don't even know if we're on any other than Umbral Caller Zealot that actually do the thing, right? The like, all right, I'm going to sack a bunch of stuff, and then I'm going to Blood Artist you, and then flip my Sephiroth.
Yeah, well, we finally got rid of Woe Strider. I think we got rid of Woe Strider this year.
They're pushing sack outlets again. They're finally at the point where they're like, okay, we can do free open-ended sack outlets again, which they didn't do traditionally for a while. I think Woe Strider might have been the last one, actually, before this year. So
I'm still kind of shocked at Umbral Caller Zealot that we got that. Like, just that card is so rock solid in both the cubes that it's in. It just is so flexible, open-ended, powerful, like good stats. Just the whole package on an uncommon. Just chef's kiss as a plus.
The art is also great. What I was going to say about the black quote unquote sacrifice decks is like there was definitely a point in Magic's history. I will call it history now because the game evolved so quickly that even a couple of years ago could probably be considered history at this stage. But the days of the sacrifice deck planning to combo kill you with a sacrifice outlet are kind of over, in my opinion. And I think it's partially because, like Tim, you mentioned this earlier, they're printing cards that like work in these decks, but are actually like we talked about this back in the day with like blue creatures, right? Like it took them forever to catch up on blue creatures. They were like, well, blue creatures aren't supposed to have great stats; they're supposed to have good effects. But in a world where creatures just keep getting bigger and more keywordy and whatever else, blue got better really blue got better when they started printing blue creatures that weren't like completely anemically statted and also did blue creature things. That's what caught them up, right? And to your
Right.
point about blood artists, right? I think what we're starting to see is like these black sacrifice quote unquote decks. What they really are is actually like fairly robust and muscular, like aggressive strategies that have sacrifice packages in them that can like drain you out after kicking your teeth in. That's not like resolve Zulaport Cutthroat. The plan is not to like play a 15 turn game, resolve a Zulaport Cutthroat, and then sacrifice your entire board. Right, like that's the black creatures they're getting in, they're dicing it up in combat, and also you're getting drained.
Yeah, we're seeing it much more, I think, in the evolution here in the main line of what Peasant's been seeing for the last little bit with aristocracy strategies, which is that in those formats, we've seen Peasant, usually the Rakdos sack deck is just like this black aggro deck that every time you take a trade with it, you lose that trade on a very marginal level. Like you take a 1-for-1 trade, but you lose a life, or you take a 1-for-1 trade, but you know, they get a counter somewhere or something like that. It's like these very marginal, incremental ways of grinding you out, and then eventually you've taken 5 of those trades, and you're like, well, crud, I'm you know, I've taken 10 damage and then like lost 5 life on trades, and now I'm sitting at 5 life.
Well, that's all to say, like, you know, white's in a better place, black sacrifices in a better place. Really looking forward to see what they do with those in the year, even though, you know, you could still argue that like blue and green are kind of top dogs in different ways. Red has also been putting up numbers recently as well, so everything's looking kind of good. I think I'm fairly happy with like the kind of power distribution, you know, minus Badger Mole Cub, which we'll talk about here.
Yeah, I coined a new acronym today when I was reading the notes that I think Teld will. I'm just going to come out and say it. It's you know, Tonk is try out the new card, try the new card or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Alt is always listen to Teld. He was like, we shouldn't do this, and I was like, yeah, but we're gonna, and then immediately problem. Always listen to Teld.
I don't know if I can co-sign always listen to Teld yet, but I get.
I mean,
where
you were on the phone with him for 400 something hours this year.
400 something hours. Yeah, according to Discord Sidekick, whatever. It's like Spotify Wrapped for
I think
Discord
so, yeah.
or something, and it's like, yeah, you and Teld just never stop talking to each other. I'm like, that's not true. Like, where did this number come from? Okay, let's jump into the sets. I did these in, you know, release order, starting with the first set of the year. We'll talk about don't need to talk about the mechanics, but I do want to kind of refresh people's you know, minds what those mechanics were, and then mostly just talk about some of the notable cards from the set. So kicking off with Aetherdrift, everyone's favorite. Aetherdrift was released in February. It was the Death Race set is how they advertised it, taking place across 3 different planes, which was Avishkar, the new name for Kaladesh, Amonkhet, and Muruganda, which is the like vanilla creatures plane that we've never fully visited. Big picture, it was quote-unquote the vehicle set. That's what it's going to go down in history as. It was trying to push vehicles with, you know, the return of vehicle and crew, as well as mount and saddle. It also had the speed / start your engines mechanic, and also exhaust, which it looks like exhaust has become a deciduous mechanic. It showed right back up in Avatar this same year. So, yeah, the vehicle set. People did not like this set.
Yeah,
it was deemed
sucked.
Goofy, right? It was just deemed too goofy for like the source material and what it was trying to, like, when you hear Death Race, you probably think like some amount of camp, but also like kind of serious tone, and they really didn't. They took the kind of like over the top shark pirates and ghost pirates, and it was just kind of like an episode.
The
of
art was
Scooby-Doo,
bad,
more or less. The art was not great. It was a little bit slapsticky.
I was gonna say, everybody knows us Magic players are super serious with our Regal Bunnic horns and Plume Creed escorts.
Yeah. Oh my God, so cute. What I was going to say was I thought it was very weird that they elected of the multi-plane spread that they did to include a plane from a set where the theme was like vanilla creatures or whatever. It had like a dinosaur vibe, but it wasn't Ixalan. I don't know. Whatever. This entire set should have taken place on Kaladesh or whatever that plane is called. Like they should have just done the whole thing there. I have no idea why they elected to.
Yeah, I get the whole like check in on multiple planes things as a way to like incorporate different elements. And plus, they were doing the whole Omen Pass thing, right? Their whole design philosophy was, let's get a bunch of returning characters that people know into the same set, and I guess this is a good way to do it.
We had to have a way to slip loot into 15 different arcs.
The set, I will say for the set did give us the Cum Frog, and for that, we should be eternally grateful to it, I think.
And by eternally grateful, you mean grateful for the 2 weeks that it was in our queue before we decided Seb's Sunin Luxa Embodied was a little bit too ridiculous. That might have been an alt thing as well, actually, ALTT. I'm sure we all recognized it. I don't remember the conversation surrounding it, but I'm sure we were all like, "Isn't this card busted? Let's play it." Maybe we.
Yeah, no, we all knew it was going to be, but were we not going to put like the titty toad in the cube for a couple of weeks? We were always going to do that.
Close your ears, children. Yeah, that card was absurd. There's actually a pretty big list of like notable cards, and we don't have to like pick out every single card and talk about them. But our biggest miss, and we've talked about this on the show, was definitely Stock Up as like an uncommon double demonic tutor, if you will. The 3 mana, look at the top 5, put 2 in your hand. Like, and we've all talked about how, individually we might have thought that, Chris talked about how he left it off the original review doc for Aetherdrift because we hadn't included it, but like it seemed powerful, and just however powerful or not powerful we thought it might have been, it ended up being like one of the kind of standout cards of the year.
Yeah.
I do think when you look at the blue cards that we were getting, though, I do think it's really easy to see why we kind of glazed over it, because like Muyan Ling and Thopter Fabricator are both standouts from this set that are like really, really good cards in the cube. And sure, they're worse than Stock Up, but like when you just read the cards, they do read as like much more compelling. Is that what I'm looking for? Thopter Fabricator is the kind of card that you're just like, all right, I'm gonna build my whole deck around this card. And, Moo's right there kind of with it, just being another enduring curiosity effect to really stack those up.
Yeah, because it's easy to look at Stock Up and say, oh, this is better Divination, but Divination's not good, so how good is this? You could do that with a lot of things, but it turns out like when a card is better than your baseline, you should probably consider how much better it is. And
yeah, it turns out this is actually the way we actually should have read this is dig through time that is at sorcery speed, but you always get the discount.
Yeah, so when I first read it, I was like, this sounds pretty strong to me. But then my second thought was, if it didn't catch their eye, then it probably isn't. Like, I wasn't confident about it, so like I still consider it a miss for me personally, because I was like, well, if they didn't think it was worth talking about, then like maybe I'm like overreading it or whatever. But the other thing is, it's like it's one of those things where in blue, when something is sorcery speed, that really that obviously has like a tremendous impact. And I was like, maybe 3 mana sorcery speed for card selection is just even with these numbers is just not where it's at. And apparently it fucking is. Is it still everywhere in constructed?
It still sees a lot of play. Yeah.
Top 8 of World Championships today.
I like this art too.
I think the thing about this card, Chris, that I didn't really think about is a lot of times in your blue decks, you're going to make your first few land drops and you're going to start running lower on cards.
Yep.
And specifically where I see Stock Up played a lot is on turn 5. You use it to find your 5th land drop and then hold up the counter spell.
Right.
So you just get both. So like if you view this as a turn 5 play, this is kind of like the Oculus thing. If you just view it as a card that I'm going to play and have the counter spell, then it's a lot better than the initial read in your mind.
100%. Yeah. And we've talked extensively about this in the podcast at this point, which is like 5 mana. 5 mana is a serious breakpoint for a lot of blue decks because you can resolve something like a Sphalin or just like a powerful 3 mana effect and hold up a counter spell. And one of the really nice things about Stock Up is like if that's your plan, if that's the series of plays that you need to make to stay in the game, there's a decent chance that your Stock Up, even if you don't have the counter in hand, there's a halfway decent chance that your Stock Up will find you the counter plus like whatever the next thing that you're looking for happens to be. Great card, really clean card.
Yep, and the only uncommon. I mean, again, the lower rarity card too. So
yeah,
that's going to come up in our Peasant review. Don't worry. We missed it for Peasant as well. I don't think we talked about it on the Peasant review either. Some other standouts here. I mean, to me, looking at this like kind of quick hit list, based on a scan of the set, I probably let some important stuff slip through. But like Agonisaur Rex sticks out to me. That's the 5 mana 8/8 trampler that you can cycle for 3 mana as a combat trick. Gives like 2+1 counters.
You mean second Tyvar stand?
Yeah,
Tyvar stand that you can cast.
Also,
as an 8/8
most
5.
infuriated were printed because they just left the Jurassic Park reference right there on the fucking table.
Yeah. Drop the ball.
Dragonstorm Engineer, absolute banger if you haven't played with that card. We actually took it out because it's just
Oh, I forgot about that one.
that
Yeah, so powerful.
But, super strong card. Yeah. Loot was in the cube for only a couple of weeks before we decided that one was just, it's kind of
when Fuller just trophied with it like 3 weeks in a row, just drafting teamer bullshit.
Didn't make it very long. Yeah, there was a lot of really messed up cards in the set.
Yeah, the red-green. We didn't play all the Gear Hulks, but the red-green Gear Hulk is particularly strong. That's the one that gives +2/+2 Vigilance and Menace to your board when it enters. We did play the one that surprises me the most is the blue-white one. Didn't really stick, and maybe it's because it had such a restrictive casting cost. It's one blue-white, but it's like a 2/5 prowess double strike ETB, basically kill a permanent, which. You would think that's really strong, but I guess the color pair that it landed in and the way those decks play and the restrictive mana cost all kind of like push back against it.
Somehow, like, we kind of talked about it on the review about, like, not knowing what to do with it in a cube setting, but it is interesting that if, as far as I'm aware, the green-white one actually ended up being the standout of this cycle in terms of at least, like, constructed, commander / 60-card play.
Yeah, that's a shame because Bright Glass Gear Hulk, that's the green, white, go fetch up 2 1-drops from your deck, like Artifact, Enchantment, or Creature. I think that's a powerful card that I would love to have in our cube, especially because, like, Selesnya doesn't do anything, but we've cut back on 1-drops so much that it doesn't line up. There's probably a point in the future where we will be interested in that card, but it's going to require us to have more 1-drops we're playing. We have 3 white 1-drop creatures.
Yeah, we've trimmed. Right now. We really have trimmed. Yeah, and the other thing that disappointed me about this card is I think that this is legitimately one of the most beautiful pieces of Magic art like ever made. Mm-hmm. And this is in an era where I think we get less good art than we used to, and this card is just gorgeous. It's just absolutely gorgeous card, and it's just not quite there for us.
Yeah, well, I think it's a for us thing. I think the card actually is quite pushed and powerful.
It is,
just doesn't fit our exact context.
Exactly. It was a little like when I read this card, I was like, oh, there's like probably a tremendous amount that you can do with specific cards and constructed with this because the artifact or enchantment element of it. But I'm with you, Tim. Like I would have selfishly for cube, I would have liked our specific style of cube as well. I would have liked to have seen it do something a little bit more straightforward, less niche, maybe something tokensy. I don't fucking know, but like just so we could put this piece of art in our cube. But
one card we don't have here that I did want to shout out more again for constructed / commander play than specifically cube, though I think it does have potential as a cube card, is Monument to Endurance. Yeah. That's the 3 mana. Whenever you discard a card, you can draw a card, make a treasure, or have each opponent lose 3 life. And that card is just an incredibly powerful engine. It's super strong. Like, it works in a variety of different contexts, whether that be like where we put cycling cards in our environment, or we have looters or whatever. Like, I actually, given how good Currency Converter has been, I'm not sure it would be good, but I think you could probably make a case that you stick it in the cube and people would find a thing to do with it.
Also in the top 8 of Worlds right now, I believe there's a blue-red discard deck that's using Monument in top 8.
Yeah, and then there's Gear Greasefang. That's the card I'm thinking of. In Pioneer is also using that card pretty aggressively.
Greasefang's using the Monument?
Yep.
For what?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just saw that it's he's playing in Greasefang.
All right.
Yeah. So Tim, the current setup for Greasefang appears to be a Orzhov deck using a bunch of those 2 mana like Guardian of New Benalia type cards with Monument to Endurance.
Okay. I'm whatever. That makes no sense to me, but good for them. But just to wrap up Aetherdrift, the only other card that really sticks out to me worth mentioning is the Aether Spark. Not because it's like some amazing card. We did play it for a while. It did some cool things. It kind of played out like a mono green ramp payoff, but or big creature payoff. But it was a very interesting, unique design. Kind of hard to grok like exactly what it was supposed to be doing as like a equipment planeswalker. Science has gone too far style card. But I got to do some cool things with it once or twice, and then we eventually cut it because it felt like a green card. Essentially, there wasn't a lot of flexibility to it, but it was a super interesting design. One of the more like unique cards to come out this year. And Verges, we got the other half of the Verges from Duskmourn. So good mana. We're on good mana. But yeah, Aetherdrift. I guess the stamp for all of us really is that like this gave us a lot of cube tools, but was like kind of a maligned set. People did not care for the overall aesthetic or flavor or whatever they were going for here. So
yeah,
I wouldn't call it a complete failure, but not great. Okay, second set of the year, Tarkir Dragonstorm came out in April. The theme is pretty anemic. It's the name of the set is Tarkir Dragonstorm, and the kind of flavor is there's a giant storm of dragons coming to Tarkir, like that. That's kind of
there's Tarkir and there's dragons and storms and stuff.
Yeah, return to a beloved plane for the first time. You know, Khans of Tarkir being one of many people's favorite set, so on and so forth. Tarkir Dragonstorm. This was
a surprising miss for me.
Yeah, this was a controversial one. I'll talk in the kind of farewell outro about my favorite draft sets of the year, but I really love this set, and some people really didn't like this set. And maybe that's from the limited perspective. I think just design perspective, it was really cool regardless. So, your thoughts on limited, but it's just big fucking dragons and the clans, and I think they executed on the clans well enough as far as flavor goes.
I think they did a good job, although I will say I know that they felt like they had to have dragons in Tarkir, but I think all of the most interesting parts of Tarkir are the non-dragony stuff, and I think the dragons just are like, did this have to be the dragon plane? I know, could we not have I think this would have been better if we had retconned a little bit, or not retconned, but moved forward in Tarkir and maybe had a Khan revolt against the dragons, and the dragons were on the verge of, extinction or something. I think having so many dragons kind of put me off on the set.
That's it's literally the plot of this set, except you just described exactly the plot of what happened with this set, but they still just put a bunch of dragons in the set, right? Yeah. Like the Dragon Lords, for example, were wiped out off screen.
See, I haven't asked Harold about the lore for this set, so I just have to read the cards and get the vibes. If all the dragons if there were a cycle of dragons and they were mythics or something, and that was about it, I would be like, oh, dragons must be pushing towards extinction. But there's just common dragons and uncommon dragons; they're everywhere.
There were a lot of dragons, and that was one of the things they wanted to push for sure. In fact, one of the mechanics from the set was Behold a Dragon, which I think Behold would be really cool to see again in the future with different card types, like Behold an Artifact. Maybe that's a little bit hokey language for what they would be trying to achieve, but felt like you could do some interesting stuff with Behold, reveal this card from your hand, or reveal this card type from your hand, get a bonus. There were obviously clan mechanics as well. Flurry for Jeskai. Renew and Harmonize were interesting because they're both just flashback mechanics for different clans. Mobilize was one of the better ones for Mardu, the one that makes creatures when you attack with a mobilized creature. And then there was Endure, which is the one that lets you put +1 counters on a creature or make grounded spirit tokens, as well as Omen, which Omen annoys me a little bit because they use the adventure card frame for a new mechanic that doesn't work like adventure. I thought that was kind of a poor idea, to the point where people were even like, oh, this doesn't... They would cast the Omen for the first time in their life and be like, oh, where did my card go? And assuming that it's an adventure or something. And it's no, it actually just shuffles itself away.
Speaking of where did my card go, anytime you dealt with a removal spell Omen and you looked away for a second and then you turned back and there was nothing in the graveyard, but your creature was dead, you're just what happened?
Yeah, what's going on here? I don't... But overall, I think the mechanics were cool. They weren't really pushing any insane boundaries here, but they were just kind of clean clan mechanics, if you will.
I thought this set had really boring mechanics. I'm gonna be real.
They're not
just crazy. They're crazy boring to me.
I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know about crazy. Well, you could definitely say that for some of these. Flurry, for example, is a payoff for casting your second spell, and then if you fast forward to Edge of Eternities the same year, that was the black-white mechanic in that set, or the blue-white mechanic in that set, but without the word flurry. So,
yeah, I do think Mobilize was cool. It's a pretty basic mechanic, but I will say it was at least fun and interesting and created cool cards.
Yeah, and Mobilize made some powerful cards too. There's nothing wrong gameplay wise with any of these mechanics, but they definitely didn't want to push boundaries, which I appreciate. We got the speed mechanic in the last set. I really do not need to see something like venture into the dungeon or the ring tempts you every other set. I'm fine with a set like this where it's just here's clean mechanics that work the way you expect them to work, and it's okay, cool. So I appreciate Tarkir Dragonstorm for that. Other people have it as a knock against the set, do what you will with that, but cards from the set. Somebody called Chris. You called Corey Steelcutter. We did talk about this one a decent amount in the review, and look at it, banned in standard.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, Corey Steelcutter. I even now I'm like, I really wish this card was in our cube because it's such a fun card to play. It's just super, super powerful. Voice of Victory. This set had Voice of Victory and Surak Elusive Hunter as like ways to clown on counter spells. So like somebody must have really hated counter spells in this set. But those cards both play out exceptionally well. Voice of Victory is such a sweet card for white aggro decks, white token decks. It just does so many different things. Also shuts off your opponent's ability to interact. Surak, I think Teld, at one point I heard you say something like Surak might be the best green 3-drop in our cube right now. I'm not sure if you feel that way.
Probably, let me double check. I think I still feel that way. Hold on.
Feelings check.
Let me just double check here. Yeah.
It's good.
Yep, it's the best 3-drop of the cube. Or green 3.
Green 3. Yeah, it's good. 3 drops. Tersa Light Shatter, also a really good 3-drop in red, which we've seen that kind of take off recently. I don't think it was like a super... people didn't hone in on it immediately after it being released, but I think it's proven its worth as a red 3-drop. You know, we were playing with Screamin' Nemesis for some part of this year, eventually cut that, and it feels like Tersa Light Shatter is more in line with what we want from a red 3-drop than something like Screamin' Nemesis. Elspeth Stormslayer, that one didn't last very long.
Yeah, that's like one of the best cards in Powered Cube, if I remember correctly.
It played well there. Yeah, that's just we don't get a lot of Planeswalkers anymore, like 1 per set, and then I guess this set had 2, but at most like 1 or 2 per set, and then none in the Universes Beyond set. So we get like 4 Planeswalkers a year or something, and this one definitely proved its worth as a Planeswalker. Just a super hard card to get over the hump, and then it also just had a kill you mode on it.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, when we were talking about this card, we talked about how the 0 ability was the scariest part of it, just like jumping your team and, being really, really scary. And that kind of, I think, played out. Like, most of the time when this card resolved, it was just like, all right, if I'm ahead, I'm just jumping my team and killing you. But then it was so good at catching you up from behind, too. It was just like, it was good on both ends, which I guess you need out of a 5-mana Planeswalker. But man, this card was wild. Did you know this card also has a removal spell mode? I keep forgetting that because you never use it, but it does have that if you need that.
Yeah, like Epic Downfall on its minus ability. Meringue River Region, are we still all really high on that dragon? The double bounce dragon with the sift mode attached to it?
Yeah, it's a good card. It's what you want in your control decks because it is both a good 6-drop and a good... Well, not great, but it is good as pretty solid as a 4-mana draw spell, right? It's not the best thing you can be doing for 4 mana, but it's solid enough. And the 6-mana mode might be close to the best thing you can be doing for 6 mana. Actually, it's bouncing 2 things and putting a giant dude into play is very frequently going to put the game on ice.
Yeah,
6/7 stats is good.
Meringue is a rock solid card, and we talked about this somewhat recently. I think Wan Shi Tong is going to the all-knowing version, the 5-mana version is going to kind of fall. This doesn't have a buyout specifically, but these we recently cut Torrential Gear Hulk. Teld hates it. I still think it's a good card. But this and Quantum Riddler and Horned Lock Whale, they have these kind of cheap buyout modes, and then you get this chonker at the top. That also, well, not in the case of Horned Lock Whale, but in the case of the other two, also generates value and interacts with the board, and that seems to be the shape that at least the blue finishers that we've been favoring, that's the shape they've been taking. Is, instead of 8 mana does an insane thing that theoretically ends the game, it's a cheap buyout mode for 2 mana that either interacts or selects cards and then ends in a 5 or 6 drop that will in fact kill your opponent. Yeah, I have a soft spot for these style of cards. I do wish I liked the art on Quantum Riddler. I don't, but this style of card.
You got to get that alt art. You got to get that alt art Quantum Riddler.
Let me see.
The trippy acid sphinx.
Oh man, this is actually pretty sweet. Yeah, but this style of card seems to be the shape that at least in our personal design estimation, this is the new shape of a good blue finisher.
And they're not compromising on the stats on these things either. You would think like, oh, Big Blue Finisher has a buyout. Let's like drop some points off the stats. But Meringue River Regent's a 6/7 flyer. Quantum Riddler is a 4/6. Like they're not really chopping numbers off of those stat lines for that.
No, they're not. I mean, your River Regent literally blocks green 5-drops profitably.
Yeah, just really really powerful cards here. So
yeah, did you added Sinkhole Surveyor?
Sinkhole's like I mean, is it like the second best 2-drop in black, third best 2-drop in
I mean,
black?
it's really good. And we've talked about this card before. You I think you guys tell me, because I have not played much for a while.
I basically almost always put at least one counter on it before.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I feel like the pattern.
It's not uncommon to do 2 counters either. Like I'll almost always put one though.
Yeah, I was going to say it seems to me that like the first thing that you do is make this a fucking 2/4, and then a 2/4 flyer for 2 is just obviously that's great. And then you can start spitting out tokens, or if you're in a more defensively oriented position, a 2/4 flyer for 2 is going to block cheap creatures all day. So,
yeah, we've seen blue black deck go turn 2 Sinkhole Summoner and just counter, protect it, kill you. Like it kills in like 5 or 6 turns on its own. So
yeah,
if you can protect that, that's a real game plan. So.
Well, that's another cool aspect of this card, right? Is like you can just put this in like a mid-range deck with like some counter magic and some interaction. You can just ride it to victory, and it's also a great.
I always kind of assumed that we would mostly be interested in the Endure on this as like a mini Jadar, but yeah, I think most of the time I'm just like I kind of just want to keep making this bigger and trade 1 life to deal 1 more damage this turn.
Mm-hmm.
Great
we
card.
are getting another similar card next year in Lorwyn with that black bitter bloom bearer card. So
yeah, I do like that design. I forgot about that, but I do like that design.
I'm so excited for that set. Can we just skip to that set?
And that's just going to instantly replace Timeline Color.
Yeah, get out of there, Timeline Color. Okay, so yeah, Tarkir Dragonstorm, a little bit controversial. Some people loved it, some people hated it, but it was very Tarkir-esque. They could have let the clan shine a little bit more, but for people who like big, dumb, fire-breathing lizards, like you got your dragons too. Which brought us to
arguably best set of the year coming up next.
Well, what did I say?
Sorry, you just said they could have let the clan shine a little bit more, and I was like,
oh Jesus Christ, I'm sorry. Okay,
that's so fucking funny to me. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, I probably shouldn't have said anything. But
sorry,
that was
sorry, chat. Sorry, YouTube.
You just gotta let them shine.
Nah, I'm canceled. Oh well. Jesus Christ.
Nice knowing you, Tim.
Yeah. Bye, dude.
Anyway, Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy released in July, and holy Jesus, this set was... the statistic that was running around was that Final Fantasy sold more units or sold better in its first day of pre-sales than any Magic the Gathering set has ever sold, period, which is just an insane thing to think about.
Also, if you're a Universes Beyond hater, this was the death knell for us. This is like there's no way, they just literally just turned on the money printer and let it
Well, I mean, if they did like one Universes Beyond a year and they were all a property as quality and like as what is the word for something that can be integrated? Integrable? No, that's not a word. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying.
In short, this set had hype on it and it ruled. Like this set is so good. Just
yeah, the set's cool.
This is one of those limited sets that like I mean I don't. It's rare I play limited sets more than 10 times these days. I'm gonna be real with you, and I think I played this like 20 times. This was a really really good set.
The limited format was that good, huh?
It was very good. Definitely the spoilers for the outro, but definitely the best set of the year.
Yeah, I was really high on Avatar when we first started, and I've come down a lot on like my interest in that set. Not that it's not really good, just that this set's quality really sticks out. Like it is incredible. The design is incredible. There's so much to be doing. It's so many points. Like just lots. Power across a bunch of different levels of play. Like the commons don't necessarily suck. Like just banger of a set.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't reinvent anything. Like, look at these mechanics. Job select, that's live-in weapon, right, with a different stat line. Towns, just a random subtype on lands. Tiered, kicker, like just kicker. Summons isn't really mechanic. It's just combining sagas and creatures on one thing. And then you had adventures return, but only on a cycle of rare lands. There is no like insanely complicated mechanic here. You could have seen, we were all kind of speculating, rewind a year. We were like, how are they going to do summons? And some people had posed like, oh, what if it's like a sideboard wish mechanic, like Lesson Learned, where you summon something out of your sideboard? And, we were all kind of like guessing how they would implement it. And they were just like Saga creatures. It was like such a subtle, flavorful, like good implementation of summons from Final Fantasy, and they could have gone way more complex. So they kept this like really KISS, keep it simple, stupid for all the mechanics, and still just played out well, which again just kind of proves that you don't need to venture into the dungeon to like sell a set. Like, you don't have to get that nebulous with your mechanics. Just keep it simple and make the gameplay good, and that's exactly what Final Fantasy did. It's such an excellent set, and it's a UB set that incorporates fantasy elements, so it works. And we're going to see that again with Avatar. There's UB that works and UB that doesn't work, and really makes me hesitant about next year.
There seems to be a very clear dividing line about the sets that work and the sets that don't. And I'm assuming if you got to a high enough quality, you could overcome this, but I just don't feel like the enthusiasm for the sets that aren't this is there. And we can talk about it more at the end of the episode, but like it is pretty interesting that all the universes beyond sets that work are fantasy sets.
Yeah, that there's no surprise there, right? Like that's exactly what you would expect. Lord of the Rings being what it was. But the one note here though is that looking through the set, there are definitely a lot of Final Fantasy cards that we're playing, but as far as like standout must mention cards, there actually weren't that many that I felt obligated to throw on this list. We talked about Sephiroth already. We were super excited when this card came out, or as the document says, Sephioth. I'll just leave it like that for the people following.
Sephi, baby, for the Italians at home.
Sephiroth. There was Kefka, the 5-mana Grixis card, which, we debated a little bit about whether that should replace Nicol Bolas from M19, whether it
and then I heard what Flutter had to say about it, and he was like, this kicks the shit out of Nicol Bolas all day.
I think it's pretty safe to say Kefka is a gigantic improvement.
It's an improvement. I don't know if it's like a huge delta between them, but I think it's certainly the better card. It's not quite a coin flip for me, but
the interesting thing with the Kefka too is that with Nicol Bolas, a lot of times you were trying to get to the flip because that was where a lot of the power was located. Like, you just played it and like it did its thing, but then you were trying to get to the flip. And Kefka, you never flip. You just ride the body and like do the trigger return.
Ride the body.
You do what now, Teld? You just ride the body.
Yeah, can we get him? Can we get a soundbite of him on that one, please?
We absolutely should. Tim is exonerated. All of the public attention is now focused on Teld, the rider of bodies. Interpret that.
Hey, everybody knows Kefka gets a little freaky. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, I mean, look at his makeup.
I'll make an apology video. And Teld, you might know the answer to this. I don't know if Chris would know, but do you know the best part of playing with Kefka on Arena?
What's that?
The sound it plays when you resolve it. It does the old like Nintendo sound.
Does it really? That's so awesome.
Yeah, it does this little cackle, the little Kefka cackle from the original Final Fantasy whenever it hits the board. It's really cool. You added some other cards, and I thought about adding these too, but I was like, I don't know if these are such standout cards as like a lot of the stuff I would mention.
I think these are pretty quick run throughs. I mean, Jill is just the best Mana War ever printed.
So I really Jill is a card that I really wanted to be good, and I'm glad to hear reports that it is in fact good.
I'm not entirely convinced. I'm going to be real with you, Chris. I think I'm not entirely convinced Jill is actually better than the uncommon submarine from Avatar, but I'm assuming it is. I'm assuming it's better, but I'm not entirely sure about that.
That submarine's a pain in the ass, man.
We're not playing that card, we're not on that card, right? We're not on that card.
It has been a standout card for Avatar, though, but anyway.
And then Esper Origins is that's the 1 in a green for the sorcery. You surveil 2, you gain 2 life, and then if you cast from your graveyard, which has flashback for 3 in a green, you exile it, and then you put it onto the battlefield flipped, and it becomes Esper Modwin, which is a 4/4. So you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a permanent, you put it into your hand. On Saga 2, you add green, and then on Saga 3, it gives you an overrun. So this was a cool way of getting an overrun finisher effect into our cube that wasn't obnoxious and broken. Like, this is a pretty good fair card. It's like a good value card. It's really good when you're ahead. Your opponent has to deal with it, but there's a window to interact with the unfair part of the card.
Also, Chris's refrain for the episode, gorgeous art. Maybe it's just because my monitor is so sick, but gorgeous art.
The art on this card is very, very good.
And I have a massive personal soft spot for green effects that are good enough and feel very distinct and unique. Because typically with green, you just get like, it does a chonkin thing and it chonks. And this is such a weird card, and the fact that it is both weird and good enough interacts with your graveyard. Like, there's so much about this card to love. This is one of my favorite green cards of all time.
Yeah, so I have two other quick shout-outs that we'll talk probably more about in the Peasant episode, but first is Summon Fenrir. This is the 2 and a green for a 3/2, and it rampant grows through the first turn, and then the second turn, when you cast a creature spell, you get to put a +1 counter on it, and at the end step, or the end trigger, you get to draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest power or tied for the greatest power. And it's just a rock solid 3-drop value card. It's even more ridiculous in Peasant, where there's a lot of course Skyfisher type stuff. But just, the play of playing this on turn 2, getting you ahead, and then your opponent kind of feels obligated to trade for it at some point. You just eke out a lot of value. It's got Fable the Mirror Breaker vibes in that sense of just being like a really solid early game play that generates a ton of value for you. And then finally, there's Sleep Magic, which we don't run, but it is really, really pushed. And I think if you're trying to power max, you probably should be on this card.
Sleep Magic is another, and it's not. I don't think Sleep Magic is bad. I think it could fit the context. I think it's more that we should rein in how many of these effects we want in our cube right now, and we're on Unable to Scream. I don't necessarily. I know, Chris, you agree with this. I don't necessarily want white or blue to suddenly have access to like a bunch of Doom Blades on top of doing what it does.
I'm not crazy about it, but yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good shout. Sleep Magic is a highly playable card. The only other one I wanted to point out is Dion, because I mentioned at the top of the episode, Dion to me was like a turn-in point for white, where it's like, okay, this is what I want a white threat to look like. Multiple bodies, which white, does best, and, pushed power, push stats. This is 5/5 stats for 4 mana. Dion has this whole backside with like the 6 mana Bahamut thing, but like, realistically, that doesn't matter. It is something your opponent has to take into account, but not really something you as the caster of Dion has to take into account, which is always nice, because you're just happy enough casting Dion. But it's also really funny when you have like a knight like Adeline on board, and then you play Dion and it suddenly has flying out of nowhere. But yeah, this was to me a turning point for white, even with just this one card kind of showing me, okay, this is what I want my white threats to look like, especially at higher mana values. We don't play a lot of expensive white cards, and Dion, I think, has been an excellent addition to white. What anything else on Final Fantasy? Yeah, if you just took a little like screenshot of our notes here, it looks like there's not actually that much to say about Final Fantasy, but it was a colossal set, like the biggest set of all time for sure, which is hilarious. We got the biggest set and possibly the worst set in the same year.
Yeah. No, I as a lifelong Final Fantasy fan, I thought that they did a good job with it. I think that if there was one area of potential disappointment, it's that if you do Final Fantasy as a property for an entire set, because there's so many characters and each one is a distinct universe and everything else, invariably some like epic character that's somebody's favorite was going to end up like some kind of niche uncommon or whatever. Like, that was always going to happen. They can't have like every single, whoever's favorite character from Final Fantasy be some like excellent mythic. So it was a lot of space to cover in a single set. But my closing thoughts on Final Fantasy is, like, if you want me to not have a problem with Universes Beyond, then this is the kind of product that you need to be releasing for Universes Beyond.
This also avoided the traditional Universes Beyond problem we've seen with Avatar and Spider-Man, of because there's so many games, you didn't get 17 different versions, at least in the main set, of cards, right? Like, the main set has, I think there's only one of every card, right? There's not like more than one Sephiroth. Like, when you start getting into the bonus sheets and the commander products and stuff, you start double dipping and triple dipping. But like in the actual main set, I think every legend is a unique character.
Yeah, I think that's true. There might be like one or two that show up across.
Did they do more than one cloud, or is the only cloud card the equipment guy?
Oh,
there
are a
three
lot
clouds,
of clouds.
but
There are a lot of clouds.
There's 3 or 4 clouds, but there's only one cloud in the actual main set.
Gotcha.
Where they were counting like starter sets and commander product and the bonus sheet and all that sort of stuff. But the bonus sheet is just reprints, right? So really, it says cloud on it, and it's got an art of cloud from some video game, but it's like Nagila the Blade Blossom or something.
Okay.
So like the actual main set, because like in the sets we'll talk about in a minute, but there are sets where there are like 5 different versions of the same character in the main set, and I think that's where a lot of the Universes Beyond feeling really schlocky feels. And Final Fantasy being such a epic, massive series, really managed to avoid that. My last thing is, did we talk about the VV Orniteer in the room?
we probably should, actually, and this is a card I've been pushing a little bit, and by pushing I mean we haven't had a full conversation about it, but it's on our admin doc. But Vivi Orniteer, banned in standard, one of the most broken standard cards, and like very clearly broken, because any Magic player who reads it can imagine how it's broken. I don't know how it went to print the way it did, but I've been pushing to play it in R-Cube because I think R-Cube is the exact type of place where it can behave itself while being strong.
Oh, is this the Is It thing with a bunch of weird text on it?
It's the Is It thing that does damage, gets big, makes mana, just unlocks a bunch of combos off with Agatha's Soul Cauldron.
Yeah.
Just very silly card.
3 mana, 0/3, picks up a +1 counter and pings your opponent when you cast a non-creature spell. It's non-creature, right? Not just instant sorcery. Yeah. And then for some reason, you can just once per each of your turns, you can just add mana equal to its power. There's no tap involved with that. So they gave it the ability to do that the turn that it enters play without Summoning Sickness, which to me is just like, why even mess around with that?
I am surprised this card doesn't have if that spell's mana value was 4 or greater, right, or somewhere on it.
Yeah, to make it play with the actual blue-red theme. I think this card would be really cool to play in R-Cube. It's an exciting card. People love playing with it. It just, for standard, it was just egregious, just back-breaking for sure. So
yeah, I mean, I guess the question is like, this is obviously better. Maybe not obviously better, but this is probably better than something like Sprite Dragon. How much better? How broken is it? Like, are we going to be doing something really, really broken with the Vivi mana? And like, my gut is probably like blue-red probably can just like dump out a bunch of stuff with this card, but it probably doesn't have quite the ceiling in Cube as it does in Constructed. But this is a really, really dangerous card. It's a really, really powerful card. Like, just a really, really cool design. But like, I say really cool design. No, it isn't. It's boring. It's boring as stuff. But it is a unique design in that the 0 ungated non-tap ability to make mana is kind of unique. It's broken, but it is unique.
Yeah, so one of a couple cards that came out this year that like reads broken on first read and then plays out that way to the point where it makes you wonder how these cards are getting through design the way they are. Badger Mole Cub being another standout from this year.
The simple answer to that is we just don't play test anymore, right? Like that's
they're making too much fucking product. And I'm just gonna go on record and say this. I think cynically, that they are, because they don't get punished for it, they're more than happy to print wildly, obviously overtuned cards to move boxes and then banhammer them later, which is something they said they were going to stop doing. But as long as people keep buying boxes for chase cards that, they don't get punished for nerfing later or banning or whatever, they're just going to keep doing it. So
yeah, Vivi was a standout card from this set. Probably net negative overall, but I think it's a fun card to play with, just not in standard, which I don't play, so I don't really care about that part. But
sacrifice 10 Magic formats.
Yes,
14 Magic formats.
As long as
Cube is the only thing that matters. You heard it here first.
Leave Cube and Tiny Leaders intact. And
yeah, dude, just like whatever. Fuck up Commander. I don't care. Cube, dude.
They're doing that plenty.
I'm sure.
Edge of Eternities, Magic in Space. I'm so much more annoyed about this set existing now that I know Star Trek is coming out next year, because given their design cycle of working on MTG sets for like 2.5 years and Universes Beyond sets for 4 years, man, they probably had Star Trek planned before Edge of Eternities and are using EOE as a like litmus test to see how people care about Star Trek, which that bothers me so much, but I don't know if that timeline actually makes sense or not. But EOE, Magic in Space, it's pretty easy to condense it down to that. But honestly, a beautiful set. Like, as far artistically, aesthetically, this is like a standout set of the year. You know, mechanically, you can make arguments one way or another, but this is just a really awesome set to look at. They went all out on the art here with the factions and the creatures and the planets and stuff like that. So I'll give them props. Edge of Eternities is not my favorite set of the year, but from an artistic standpoint, it's hard to really argue against this being like just a really beautiful set to look at.
Yeah, I mean, it's gorgeous. They did a great job. This card also, or this set also, I want to say, like, I honestly think that this may be the first set that I can think of that I think probably looks better on, like, an HDR monitor than it does in paper.
Okay, Chris, we know you got a new computer.
No. My monitor, my monitor I've had for a year now, but where I'm going with this is this set features a lot of cards with sort of like digital light effects on them that like are really highlighted. I think that this might be one of the few sets that I think looks better digitally than it does in paper. If that makes any sense. Yeah.
Yes. There's not much to say big picture wise outside of like this is the Space MTG set. They were supposed to be like an emphasis on lands with the Stellar Sights bonus sheet, which might be one of my least favorite bonus sheets of all time, despite it looking awesome. I'm not going to get into why here. It doesn't really matter. There was like the return of Landfall as well. Mechanically, we had Void, Warp. Warp is awesome. Just a very sweet mechanic as like a riff on Evoke, but it plays really well with a bunch of different stuff. Gave us some really interesting cards for Peasant and Mainline. Spacecraft and Station entered here, as did Lander tokens and the planet subtype, which didn't really matter outside of the mythics. Quick question, having played with them a little bit, what's your guys' like final takeaway at the end of this year about Spacecraft and Station? Like, do you feel like that's the type of thing you would be excited to revisit again next year, or do you think that was like a one and done, didn't really care for it?
I have almost no experience with it, so I'm going to defer to Teld here.
Yeah, we're getting Star Trek, so it's like definitely happening, right?
Yeah,
but like, how do you feel about the mechanic? Do you think it was like a good execution of what spaceships in space would be?
It's okay. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's like. I mean, I think it feels like convoluted mounts / vehicles, but I mean, they seem to like going back to that well.
You said it's real on the Lumen class frigate or whatever that card is, right? That we're playing.
It is. Like, I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying the mechanic itself feels like sort of convoluted vehicle. Like, I think it's fine. Like, it's an okay mechanic. Like, I get what it's doing. I can appreciate it. I don't want to see it a bunch, but like, I could actually see station mechanic being used in non-space settings. I don't know how they would like frame it from a flavor perspective, but I could definitely see it coming back in other contexts too, because I do think the like tapping dudes to power up a thing is like a pretty solid use of gameplay. Like, it creates for interesting gameplay patterns of like, do you tap your dudes or do you not? That being said, weren't most of the spacecrafts kind of bricks anyways though?
They were, which worries me a little bit, because we see this pattern a lot with MTG where they'll introduce a new mechanic, and if it was like just kind of tame the first time, the second time they come back to it, they completely break it in half. So I'm wondering if, because a lot of the feedback on Spacecraft was that they were just overtuned, they had too high of numbers to like station numbers or whatever. I wonder if we get them in Star Trek and they're just like the most busted thing in the world.
Yeah, that's
we're seeing that with the lessons right now. Like, the lessons are just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, anyway, we will almost certainly be seeing this at the end of next year in Star Trek. If not, like you said, in other applications. They did use it on the planets, right? The 5 planets had station abilities as well, so they're not specifically linked to spacecraft. Notable cards. There's one up from a trifecta? Quadfecta? Is that a thing? There are 4 rares that kind of complete this like little package of insane cards from the set for me. There's Quantum Riddler in blue. That's the Sphinx with Warp. There's Cosmo Grand Zenith in white, which is the flurry guy that either makes tokens or pumps your board. There's Elegy Acolyte in black, which is the 4-mana 4/4 lifelinker that has the Gix ability and spits out 2/2s with Void. And then there's Ouroboros as the green 4-drop that just puts 18+1 counters on all your creatures every turn. Those 4, like, all combined together are what I think of when I think of Edge of Eternities. EOE was a very powerful set. I don't have a lot of cards listed out here on the document, but it's an extremely powerful set with, mechanics like Warp kind of given an extra twist to cards. If you think about Warp on Quantum Riddler, you can do some pretty nasty things. Like, that's a whole modern deck. It's just ephemerate my Quantum Riddler. Now I have a Quantum Riddler in play, and I'm up 2 cards plus an ephemerate. You know, that's an entire deck. It's like the new scam thing. But those are the 4 cards that come to mind. At the like tippy top of them all, Cosmogrand Zenith to me is the white 3-drop that I now have to compare all white 3-drops to, because that card is atrociously strong. Like, it's the type of thing that probably doesn't meet the power level of our cube, but like we were saying, you know, white has been dipping behind, so we're okay with these kind of pushed white cards right now, and I think Cosmogrand Zenith has proven itself to be like a standout white 3-drop. Ouroboride, we never actually played Ouroboride. We waffled on it a little bit, but we never actually put it in the queue. We figured the play patterns were probably going to be just unpleasant for that card, right? It's either going to kill you or it's going to die, and there's probably not a lot of middle ground there, so we ended up not playing it.
Well, I guess, I mean, what's happening in Constructed with it right now is confirmation that was a good skip.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that we would see like Simic aggro specifically, because the standard decks are doing things like Spyglass Siren into Jackal, into Surak, into Ouroboride, right? And I don't know that people would really be excited to put our blue cards in the same deck. But maybe, I don't know, maybe you would see like a Malcolm into, I don't know, Jill into Ouroboride deck, and Ouroborid's just your closer.
I do think that blue-green beatdown is something that you could draft in our cube. I just think that when people do that, they tend to go like Bant or like add a 3rd color.
Ouroboride, I don't know. Like, I just feel like nothing good comes of that. Like, even if it's the kind of card too that just like it's super obnoxious, and it just I don't think it would necessarily make Simic aggro a thing, but it also doesn't really fit well necessarily in Bant. So maybe it would see play in some sort of Abzan deck, but then like at that point, you know, those decks already have anthems that are there. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it would necessarily have a clean place in the cube, and it would be dangerous to even try it.
Yeah, because it's one of those cards where it's like, okay, let's add this to our cube. What do we think the play pattern's going to be? You know, assuming your card doesn't die every single time it gets played, what do we think the, you know, average case for this card is? And the average case for Ouroboride is that it put 3+1/+1 counters on all your creatures in a turn cycle, which is not okay. That's just not cool. So, we ended up not playing that. We are on Elegy Acolyte, Cosmogrand Zenith, Quantum Riddler, which I'll find to be like stellar additions to cube. We mentioned Umbral Collar Zealot, and, you know, just to remind the listener, we collectively, Teld, myself, and Chris, poofed that card into existence. WotC stole that card from us and designed it like 2 days after we talked about it and willed it into existence. So we were on the phone and we were like, what would a modern day Viserys Seer look like? And we were like, what if it was like a 2-mana 3/2 that like could surveil instead of scry when it sacked things? And what if it could sack artifacts? And it was like 2 days later, they're like, Umbral Collar Zealot.
Yeah. I mean, we are geniuses, obviously. That's why you listen to this podcast, folks.
Big win for blue card advantage this year, right? Like, we already talked about stock up. There's consult the star charts here. You could even say in Edge of Eternities, what's the Cryogen Relic, the common? Like, that's a really powerful common card draw spell. Final Fantasy had Combat Tutorial, which ended up being like the best blue common in Limited. Just a really big win for card advantage this year in blue.
Definitely.
And traditional card advantage, just straight up draw spells, not these like creatures that draw spells, though we did get that as well with Quantum Realm.
We did. It feels like they finally started to recognize, because we talked about this way back in the day when we were like, blue is bad, that they were strapping card advantage onto everything, like creatures, whatever, and that blue pure card advantage effects were not getting better. So blue wasn't even like the best card advantage color anymore, in addition to having the worst creatures. And it feels like somebody over there finally listened to the pod and came to the same conclusion, because these blue traditional card advantage effects are finally being pushed to a power level where the fact that you're not getting board presence off your card advantage effects is okay, because the modality or the number of cards you're seeing or whatever it happens to be. I mean, Teld's talked about this at length. Like, we're at the point now where like the traditional cantrips are not as powerful as they used to be. Right, because like how hard can you push that effect? But Consult's a great card. It's a fantastic card.
To the point where we cut Dig Through Time from our cube this year because stock up, consult the star charts. These are doing dig through time impressions while also being cheaper or, giving you buyouts or doing whatever. I mean, how do you feel when your opponents on turn 8 cast consult the star charts? Like, you don't feel very good, right? They're hitting action. They're hitting action, and it's going to feel like a dig through time that they could also just cycle on turn 2 if they need to. So I didn't list out a lot of cards for EOE. Is there other stuff that stands out to you all? Like yeah, Lumen class frigate. Like we're certainly playing other EOE cards, but I just didn't list that many here. Like Lumen class frigate does come to mind.
We don't actually have that many.
Yeah, I mean, there's some cool ones. Like Genomorph Imago is pretty good. I know Nova Hellkite was actually a really big overperformer in the powered cube.
Was it really?
Yeah, because it 3 mana, it could push and pressure and kill a planeswalker, and oftentimes like pick off a utility creature or like a cheap aggro dude along the way. At least that's what I was informed by Flutter. So basically, the warp ability here being very real when you needed to attack planeswalkers.
Interesting.
That card is sweet, and I wish we were playing it, but I just don't know that we can play it in conjunction with Glorybringer, and I don't think it's better.
I don't think it's better than Bringer. The art is way cooler.
It was better in the powered cube, but we also don't run a lot of planeswalkers. Or if you're a data believer, it was better than Glorybringer.
Okay, so then I guess my follow-up question is, does Edge of Eternities have, like, power outlier cards that we straight up didn't play? Things like Ouroboros. Because I in my mind, EOE is a very powerful set. Maybe I'm, like, over-adjusting for Peasant Cube. But
I think the ceiling on EOE is actually not as high as some of these other sets. I mean, Quantum Riddler, Elegy Acolyte, we talked about Ouroboros, the Cosmic Grand. Those are all really messed up cards. But I think the number of those that we got is actually kind of low. But I think EOE was just a really high floor set where there were just a lot of really powerful effects floating around.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and yeah, if you just filter by like mythic rares, actually a lot of the mythics are really janky things.
Yeah.
Shock lands too. We already had shock, so like that's not a big thing for us from this set.
A number of the really powerful cards in this set too are like Pinnacle Emissary and like Biotech Specialist that are very artifact coded.
Yeah, it's worth noting the bonus sheet had Ancient Tomb and Strip Mine on it, but like those were never going to have a shot in our cube. So, and from what I understand is they just kind of ruined Brawl while they were legal. I think they just got banned, but not super healthy cards. I think I hate Ancient Tomb. I hate the existence of Ancient Tomb.
Did we, sorry, real quick, I know that they're not original prints from the set, but did we mention that EU Celestial Colonnade and Creeping Tar Pit and Raging Ravine?
No, those were also on the entire original cycle of 2-color creature lands were on the bonus sheet. And yeah, the 3 that you named are the 3 that we think kind of stand up and still hold up in modern day Magic. A lot of them are, they don't. Yeah. They really don't.
And I'm usually not a big fan of alternate arts. I'm a boring guy. I like uniformity. I don't like borderless stuff generally, but I think the art on the creature lands for EOE was pretty cool.
Yeah. One of my gripes with that bonus sheet is that if you like put all the cards side by side, there's kind of like this overwhelming sameness to them, like space stuff. But if you take them in isolation, you look at like one card, it actually is some really sick, awesome art on a lot of those bonus sheet things. The Stellar Sites, they named it Stellar Sites for a reason. But again, I don't particularly care for that bonus sheet. But I'll save it for another time. So yeah, EOE. To me, Edge of Eternities was a set I didn't love, but was probably successful at what it wanted to do. It also kind of reminded me that I think some sets would work better if we went back to a block system, because like you're doing Magic the Gathering in space, right? You have literal space to work with. Like it feels like you shouldn't jam that into a single set and then move along, right? It feels like you should do something across multiple sets there. But do we want to just skip Marvel Spider-Man through the Omen Pass? We should talk about it.
Oh, this is all right. So we've arrived. Worst set of all time.
Yeah, Final Fantasy best set of all time, Marvel Spider-Man worst set of all time. It's got to be the worst set of all time, right? It's just a terrible set, and I don't know that we can say it's still fresh in people's memories too. So it's not like this is going to be some big revelation. But Marvel Spider-Man came out in October. This was the second Universes Beyond set of the year. It was basically just covering a bunch of different Spider-Man stories across the Spider-Verse. They, due to some licensing thing, they had to put it on Arena as Through the Omen Paths, where they redid all the art and names for the cards. It looked terrible. It actually looked kind of promising at first glance, and then once you played with the cards like once or twice, it's like, these are kind of ugly. These are like really ugly and half-assed, and this does not feel good to play. So
there are a few of them that I think are pretty. There's a few of them that I think are decent enough. Like, but the art, even on the good arts, is like so low res that it's hard to look at.
Well, this is the thing that I fail to grasp about these, like whether it's the alchemy cards or whatever it is. You're literally commissioning the art for the digital space. So why does it look like dog shit on a computer screen? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It literally doesn't make any sense. In this particular case, it does, because I'm sure some suit was like, well, we have to do this for licensing reasons, so like we're not going to commission 2 sets of art because that would be too expensive, even though they're posting record profits. But like, this set upsets me so much because there are a couple of cards in there that actually do relatively unique things and are interesting cards, but then I have to fucking look at them in my list. Like a demi of the Silk Shoots, I can't even remember whatever Spider-Man that's supposed to be, but like, this has got to be one of the ugliest pieces of art I have ever seen. Also, it's like a spider that's like wrapped up in a bunch of its own silk, which doesn't make any nothing about this.
It's a guy who has the spider silk wrapped around him so that the spider can be a parachute for him.
Oh, okay, cool. Great job.
Doesn't make it much better. I'm just clarifying what it is.
What it is. Hideous, hideous, truly hideous cards.
Yeah, really hideous art there. I mean, even in the like one of them that I really liked when we were seeing the original spoilers was Nia of the Sky Sails, I think is the name of it.
Nia Sky Sails Storyteller. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
And I think the actual art on this card, like the what the art is trying to do, I'm all in for it. But like it's so low res that even though this is one of the better pieces, it still looks really bad.
Yeah.
The only one that really gets by is Fleam, and that's because it's a giant meme.
It's like they're rendering these things in like 720 or something in an era where
they're on 480.
Yeah, it's like they're rendering things in like 480 in an era where like no screen below 1080p anymore. No one. It makes the how ugly these cards are. Like, oh my, I'm looking at Gobin Gene Splice Savant right now, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
No, don't look. Don't look at it. Don't look.
So bad.
I mean, like I said, Fleam kind of works, but like that's about the only card that really works, and that's because Fleam is very silly looking, and it kind of it just has a vibe. But like, the other bad thing about this is that if you've tried to purchase cards or if you've tried to look for cards and you like it doesn't they don't work well in terms of trying to get the cards or like find them on Scryfall or something like that, because like even though, for example, like Fleam or Gobin is the card we have on Arena, Scryfall still needs you to type Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, whatever it is, in order to get to it. Like, you could probably type Gobin into Google search and like pull it up, but it's really tedious. And then a lot of times when you export them, for like I was trying to see how much the Jank Diver Peasant Cube would cost to buy at one point, and like when you export it, you have to go in and fix a bunch of stuff, which we have to do a couple of that for alchemy cards. But like you have to go in, replace every single OM1 card with the name that would be there if it was the Spider-Man card. It's just a giant mess.
Yeah, I mean, I write about and edit Magic the Gathering for my job, and this set is a colossal pain in the ass because of that exact thing. We have to tag cards to send people to TCG Player whenever we mention card names, and it's really annoying when I have to. I'm trying to cue somebody to the card Spider-Man or Spectacular Spider-Man, but like the context of what I'm writing is a demi of the Silk Shoots or whatever, and it's like I have to go look up that card and figure out how it's spelled because I don't know how to spell Silk Shoots. I'm stupid. And then it's like, oh, I can't even type in a demi. I have to figure out what the actual name of the card. It's just a colossal mess. This set is messy. It is deservedly panned. We could talk about the mechanics. We could talk about individual cards because there are some individual cards. Just the overarching theme was this set was a huge failure, and part of it is, erase all the Through the Omen Path stuff. Like, just Marvel Spider-Man. Just take that. it does not fit Magic the Gathering the way Final Fantasy did or the way Avatar or
It's
Last
atrocious.
Airbender did. It's not fantasy adjacent, and it makes me hesitant that we're getting Marvel superheroes next year because, which by the way, we're getting spoilers for that set on Tuesday. It doesn't come out until June. I'm hesitant. I think that'll be a much bigger set. You know, it's not honed in on just Spider-Man, but they have to. We've basically got confirmation that they're doing Through the Omen Pass for that too, right? Like, basically everything Marvel related has to get this stupid Omen Paths reskin, and unless they really hunkered down after the feedback from Spider-Man and did something to make that not the case, like that's gonna feel just as bad. Like,
and the truth is these colossal corporation behemoths move very slowly. Like, you're trying to turn the ship, but like the ship takes time to move, right? Like, you can't. Yeah. It's hard to react quickly to things, even if it's a disaster like this. So I would assume that we should expect the Marvel set to be.
Well, yeah. So somebody asked Mark Rosewater on Blogatog, his personal blog. They asked him, will Marvel superheroes address some of the backlash that people had about Marvel Spider-Man? And his response was that Marvel superheroes is already a done deal and shipped, so they can't adjust anything based on the feedback, but he believes that the set naturally already deals with some of the things people were complaining about with Spider-Man, which I think he's alluding more to the like repetition of card names, like all the different Spider-Man, like kind of the nitpicky little stuff instead of the big picture, like nobody wants this Omen Paths crap. Like I don't think that's coming through in that response. And you know, he answered in a typical Mark Rosewater, like, can't give you the full answer, but here's what I'm hinting at, wink, you know, type style that he does on Blogatog. But I cannot imagine. I think that'll be a much grander, big scale set, given, you know, early art and stuff like that, and the size of the set is like 1,000 cards. But it's going to have the same problems here for us specifically. Anyone who plays digitally is going to have this Omen Paths crap. And Spider-Man flopped so hard that, like, I was willing to give Through the Omen Paths, you know, it's due and try it out. I played a lot of the set. It's not great, but I don't absolutely hate it, but it's not good. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I would hope not to see this in the future. And knowing that there's more of it coming next year just makes me think that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a big deal when it happens. So, yeah, this set sucks. This set's boo-boo.
Yeah, and just a reminder, we are getting 3 non-fantasy related Universes Beyond sets next year. So, like, I mean, the early stuff we've seen for the TMNT set looks awful. The early set stuff we've seen for, I don't think we've seen anything for Star Trek, but I just assume that one's going to be awful.
I mean, we've seen Captain Kirk's face, William Shatner's face on a car. Like, I don't know.
Did they go full Shat?
Early day Shat. Yeah, they shattered
we'll have that Shatner, and then we'll have the what was his name? The movie one, the modern movie one. We'll get both.
Oh man, the 2026 review is not going to be a very happy review. I can tell you that much. But yeah, okay. Well, enough about Spider. Oh, I guess the only thing I wanted to mention here was the Soul Stone, the Infinity Stone, which, whatever, the card is whatever for Cube, but it is indication that we're going to see a bunch more of those. And I don't know if we're going to see like all of the rest of them in this next Marvel set. It feels like we're going to get more Marvel sets in the future beyond Marvel superheroes, but they clearly seeded like, hey, Marvel's happening in Magic over the next few years with this Infinity Stone.
One of the big unfortunate things too is we talked about how bad Ademi's art is, and I do think that card is very powerful, unfortunately. Like, I don't think it's like necessarily a forever type card, but it is really strong. Like, it is a card that performs rather well at its job.
There's a couple cards in the set like that. Once you get into Peasant 2, there's like actual really powerful stuff like Spider UK or Sarn or whatever it's called, and we'll have to chat about those. But not happy that this is how this set that already wasn't going to be something we were happy about was handled, like even more poorly somehow. So. Enough of Spider-Man. You guys got any lingering thoughts? I think we could probably.
No, I have nothing else to add that's not me being negative and boring.
Mayhem was cool.
Yeah, the mechanics are actually fine. Web slinging, Mayhem both play out well. Connive return, modified return. The MDFCs were these like transforming mythics that could be cast on either side. That was cool. So the mechanics were fine. They just didn't put. The whole story of this being a small set that was upgraded to a big set because the small set's sold so poorly. It's just like there's like really muddy backstory to this whole thing, and they just didn't put the love and care into it that needed it to be even remotely successful, and it wasn't. It was a flop. So maybe financially, I'm sure financially it wasn't a flop, and they're like, oh, it was a success, let's do more of this. But whatever, set sucked. Let's move on to the last set of the year, which is the current set, the freshest in our mind, Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I think we all chatted, in recent episodes that none of us are like super entrenched in the Avatar lore or anything, but it's kind of a cool property. It's fantasy adjacent with all the bending and elemental stuff that feels like a good enough fit, and they really delivered on this one. I am not. This is the set that I've heard from the most people that they're like, oh, this Magic the Gathering set is so cool, I want to go experience the source material. They were talking about that on LR. Like Marshall Sutcliffe just binge watched all of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which doesn't seem like the type of thing Marshall Sutcliffe would be watching, but yeah, like that. This set has had that sort of effect on people. You can tell it was made by people who love the property. You can see that in the cards. You can see that in the art. It really landed more than I thought it would when they announced this, like early this year. I was like, oh, Avatar, really? That's what we're doing? But I think they did a good job with this one. Part of it being the mechanics are just really cool, like airbend and earthbend and waterbend and firebend, and all cool mechanics. Different degree of playability in cube, but they executed on all of these. And
apparently, this time we made Lessons a constructed all-star in a different way. It's not because they're a bunch of crazy tutors out of the sideboard. We just made Ancestral Recall.
They broke Lessons hard. That is you're going to be hearing about this for the next couple months. I think the Lessons package was. They might have done a little bit too much on the lessons in this set, and it's hilarious because it doesn't even involve the learn mechanic yet, which, man, if they give us learn in Strixhaven, that's all I want next year, but I don't see how they can do that. They made these lessons just powerful main deck cards. How do you justify putting that in a standard set with learn?
Yeah.
I think lessons are going to win the world championship right now, but
it's funny. It's like almost a lot of these decks are like almost peasant decks.
Yeah, we're spoiler alert. We're gonna run an article tomorrow that's titled something to the effect of like such and such wins world championship with a handful of uncommons. Like that's gonna be the title of the piece that we run. Other mechanics, lessons, clues came back. They decoupled it from investigate. So investigate, the term investigate will only show up like where it's flavorful to use it, but clues are now just kind of their own thing. Shrines came back, but they sucked, so who cares? Exhaust came back, which was just introduced at the beginning of this year, so that leads me to believe they'll be using Exhaust a little bit more, which makes sense. It's a clean little mechanic for a one-shot ability. That's kind of nice to see. Notable cards. Let's talk Badger Mole Cub. Let's talk.
Boy.
I have not seen this in play, so
This card is so unbelievably dumb. Like just I mean, what was it we saw the other day, Tim? It was like 6 mana or like 7 mana on turn 4 off of like one dork.
So we got the we were watching a match from somebody else, and Carbon was like, hey guys, don't come click on my match right now, which, it's like, let's go check out what's going on with Carbon. And I believe what he did was turn 1 Mana Dork, turn 2 Cub, earthbend his land, use his Mana Dork to tap for 2 more mana to play a Mana Dork. So, turn 2, end of turn 2, he's got 2 1 Mana Dorks, a Cub, and an earthbent land with another land on board. And then turn 3, he played, I believe, Sheoldred with a counter spell up to protect it on turn 3.
Has Children been fine, by the way? Has it been okay?
Not with counterspell back up on turn 3.
Well, sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's actually really hard to say because our rate of fire in cube, just to be honest to the listener, our rate of fire in cube has not been super successful since the vintage cube hit, but we have got 1 or 2 drafts in with the avatar changes and the big picture changes, and I don't think Sheoldred has come up as like some problem card.
But yeah, Badger Mole Cub like generated just, I mean, it was like, Chris, it generated so much mana. It was just an actual ludicrous amount of mana, like 3 extra mana off your 2-drop. I mean, granted, you had to have dorks too, so like it's not a guarantee, but the nut draw capacity of it is just so high.
It's dumb. It's one of those Vivi things I was talking about where it's like they revealed the card and everybody was like, what? Why? When every single collective person who's looking at your spoiler before playing with it is like, why would you make this? Like it makes me question how it got through design. Other than, hey, let's make a super busted card to sell packs. Like that has to be the reason, right? Otherwise, why are you messing with the possibility of a 2-mana mana doubler? Why even print that card? Why, give a card with that much upside to a 2-drop? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. But Badger Maul Cub broken, understandably so. I think the best cube card from this set is Aang Swift Savior, the Azorius flash spell.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play this card yet, but I assume it's going to be my personality in the mainline cube for the next little bit. Yeah.
So in any sort of deck, it's not an excellent control card. You could still play it in control, but in any sort of deck that's pressuring your opponent, like a blue-white tempo deck, this just cancels their turn 3, right? It cancels their turn 3, and compared to Spell Queller, it is a really big deal that this can hit permanents on the board. So it can just remove a blocker for a turn. It can save your own stuff, which Spell Queller couldn't do. The fact that it interacts with any permanent on board gives it like so much more flexibility. And then the activated ability looks like this complete nonsense, right? It's 8 mana Waterbend, or it's Waterbend 8 to transform it into this kind of like whatever creature. But if you've played any Avatar, you know that Waterbend X is like significantly cheaper than that mana cost. Waterbend 8 is realistically like pay 4 mana or something like that. Pay 3 mana. If you have material on board, that all pays for 1, whether it's clue tokens or other dorks or whatever. So this thing flips actually very easily, and it does it at instant speed, which I think really breaks the card wide open, because you can just hold up all your mana, interact with your opponent, hold up your 3 steps ahead, and if they don't try to kill anything or do anything you need to counter, you just invest your turn into transforming this. Now it's a 6/6 trampler that pumps all your other creatures when it attacks. And you already got value off the ETB, and it's all at instant speed, and it can bounce things off the stack, and it can save your own creatures. It just does so much for a 3-drop. Like, Spell Queller is not even in the conversation anymore, and this card is so much better than what ever was.
Yeah, and on top of all that, it also doesn't have, like, sure, your opponent doesn't, like, sometimes get locked out of their card because they can always just cast it for 2 mana, but it means you don't have those situations where you have to not attack because you could get blown out if they have a removal spell for your Spell Queller, right? Like, there are times where Spell Queller, like, restricts what you're allowed to do because your opponent could kill it, and then if it kills it and they get their card back, something terrible is going to happen. But you don't ever have that with Aang. So, like, the floor is a lot higher, too, in addition to the ceiling being way higher as well.
Yeah, this is an incredible card for how... It looks like a very fair card. I think it's going to play out to the point where, like, we don't need to cut it. I think it's going to be at the top end of, like, strong cards that we're happy to play. But it's such a good fit for blue-white decks that attack your opponent.
And I also want to like give them a little bit of credit here that I think the card is incredibly powerful, but they did take that they did the thing that they don't always do anymore, which is they were like, they could have given this 3 power and it would have been completely broken. Like it would just, I could see a world where this is a 3/3 and it's just like even more ridiculous, but they did have the good sense to be like, all right, let's tone this back to be a 2/3.
Or if I would have imagined the Waterbend to be a sorcery activation only here, and it's not. Like the fact that you just get to flash this in at one, like you get to just operate at instant speed so well with this card, because it's, even if it dies right away, you still got pretty good tempo off of it, and you can do these like sick things with like, I'm gonna warp in Quantum Riddler, and then I'm gonna Aang and airbend my Quantum Riddler away, and then I'm gonna cast that thing again later for 2 mana, and I'm just gonna get the full Quantum Riddler. Or there's this mini janky combo with the new Appa card, where for every 4 mana you have, they can toggle each other out of airbending to make a 1/1 ally, which sounds stupid, but it's all instant speed. Like, but yeah, I'm really pleased with how this card hit. I think it's really cool. Boomerang Basics? Oh, is Tim gonna get the Boomerang Basics is busted win?
I think you do get the Boomerang Basics is busted win, because this card is seeing like crazy play in Standard at the moment, and it is like a 4 of across what I've looked at now, like 5 different or 3 or 4 different archetypes. It looked like it was multiple archetypes are playing this as a 4 of.
Yeah, Boomerang Basics is a blue mana for a sorcery that bounces any permanent, non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and if you bounce your own thing, you draw a card. So it's kind of a sorcery speed unsummon, but you're using it on your own stuff as like basically a 1 mana draw to. Like if you pick up your Storm Chaser's Talent, you paid blue, and you drew Storm Chaser's Talent and another card, and then you can obviously
should we be playing it?
I don't know, because how much like value permanence do we play in our mainline cube?
That's a good question. I'm not sure that like bouncing something like Jill back to your hand and then playing Jill again is actually a good use of 4 mana. I don't know.
Yeah, you really need to be on those like nowhere to run style permanents, like the removal as permanents, and then like chainsaw type cards. If we have a lot of that, then yeah.
This strikes me as the combo card with Storm Chaser's Talent too. Like I know that's the standard thing, and this is the same thing as like this town ain't big enough where you can target your Storm Chaser's Talent, and then you play your Storm Chaser's Talent, and you pick the Boomerang basics back up with the level 2 of Storm Chaser's Talent, so that you can rebuy it and go up and order and draw a card, which seems very silly. I think that is probably the most powerful thing that you could be doing with the card, but it's just like, it looks like the kind of card that maybe, I know we talked about it being an instant when we first, spoiled it or reviewed it, but yeah, card, they made a good decision making it a sorcery card. Seems super powerful.
Yeah, they might not have made a good decision by printing it at all, but as far as not making it an instant, yeah.
Yeah, making less bad decisions, yeah.
You can actually say this about a lot of lessons. So, Chris, I haven't really gone off on my lesson tangent for the mainline cube yet, but coming out of Avatar, like, I think the lessons in this set are so good, like, just across the board, so good. If you get a couple playable learn cards, that if Secrets of Strixhaven comes out next year and they print, like, 3 to 4 good learn cards, I would be really interested in revisiting some of the lessons from Avatar.
Like a package.
Yeah, because it's like Boomerang Basics, it's kind of like, I can see how this card could be good, but just imagine when you have access to that card, but you don't actually have to put it in your main board. Like, you have like 3 lessons in your deck, and every learn card can choose from Burst Lightning, Unsummon, or Anticipate, right? Like, the way they approached lessons in Avatar was, let's just take a bunch of traditionally playable cards, and let's put the lesson card type. Like, there's Quench as a lesson. There's Anticipate as a lesson. There's Burst Lightning as a lesson. Like, once you add in Learn, I think those cards go way, way, way up in value. There's a green cantrip that becomes like, look at 7 cards in the late game, pick a creature out of them. Like, those are super powerful when you don't have the fail case of them being just kind of like whatever cards in the early game. So we'll get back to that. The power of the lessons in Avatar leads me to believe that Learn actually might not be returning in Secrets of Strixhaven, because that just seems egregious to me, but we'll see about that next year. All right, any other thoughts on Avatar? I know this is the freshest set. Chris, I know you haven't engaged with the limited set or anything, but Teld, any other thoughts you had on Avatar here?
No, I mean, this is a good set. I don't think this is necessarily quite like all-timer status like Final Fantasy, but I do think it's a very good set. There's a lot of really cool cards we didn't talk about here that are interesting and compelling and like might end up seeing play at some point, but I haven't had a chance to really play enough of these cards to talk about them. I did want to go and talk about, I think we mentioned this briefly in the review episode, but Phoenix Fleet Airship is super cool, like really sick design. And I just want to shout that out again.
Yeah, that's the 4-mana 4/4 crew 1 vehicle that copies itself on your end step if you sacrifice something, and then if you have 8 of them, they all become creatures automatically. So that's one of those cards in draft that I'm like, I know black sucks, but I'm gonna pack one, pick one this, and I'm gonna try.
Does black actually suck? Because like, I don't know, Dimir looks really good.
Well, Demir's good because blue's good, and black has a couple removal spells to add to it. But yeah, black's terrible. Black sucks at common is what I should say when I mean that. Okay, so that's the 6 sets. You guys know I have to close out the year with a couple quick superlatives. Got to do it. We'll revisit way more superlatives for the peasant episode, but there's 3 big ones we got to touch on here at the higher level. The first being the coveted Chains of Mephistopheles award, which goes to a cubable card that has too much text or is way too complicated or is super complex and makes you say, okay, what does this do? I actually had a hard time finding one this year, but I landed on some double-faced cards. The Rise of Sozin comes to mind from Avatar. Mm-hmm. This is mostly the back half of that card. The front half is like a saga that kills all the creatures and then extracts a card from your opponent's hand, library, and graveyard, and then transforms. But the back half is like 5/5 menace, firebend in 3. When it attacks, get your mana. If it hits your opponent, pay X. You can reanimate creatures from your opponent's graveyard with total mana value X or less. It's just this really wordy kind of threat on the back of an already kind of semi-complex saga, and I think I'm willing to give it to that. I could have also mentioned like Jill or Dion or any of the Transformin
cards that you just don't care about the backside, basically.
Yeah, the summons from Final Fantasy, but honestly, the front half of those cards is pretty simple. Like Dion and Jill are not complicated cards, right. So I'm going to give this award to Fire Lord Sozin specifically, which I would like to see. I would like to see more of that card in Cube. That's still a big question mark for me. Is the 6 mana sweeper justifiable with this big kind of reward on the back of it? And I don't know if I have an answer for that yet. Adult Gold Dragon Award. This goes to it's the opposite of the Chains of Mephistopheles. It's the simplest, cleanest card that also has a high power level that you can put in Cube. Last year we gave it to Seer Slicer Goblin and Mischievous Mystic as just 2 drops that make 1/1s, and I think this year we can agree Umbral Color Zealot gets the award, right? Just
probably
a very clean text box.
Very clean. Really easy to grok card. It's very powerful, like probably the best open-ended cheap stack outlet available. Yeah, just rock solid card, and it's very easy to grok. Has like 1 line of text.
Yep, and it's good. It's good. That's the best part. It's good. And then the Lantern Bearer Award. This is a new award from last year. We gave it to poor seasoned Warren Guard from Bloomborough. This award goes to the worst card that we played in the Cube this year. Shout out to Lantern Bearer from back in the day. I personally would give it to Heroes Hangout or Firebrain Scheme. Part of that is, yes, I think the card is bad, but also I think the going back to Omen Pass, I think the art is atrocious too. And when I look at it, I'm like, this is so ugly. I want it to be even worse than I think it is. So you Teld also shouted out Veteran Beastmaster as the 3 mana 3/4 Selesnya card that untaps your stuff and it can pump your board. I think that's a good shout.
I think that's a classic case of just a very good peasant card that doesn't have the qualities we talked about to make the jump into the more powerful environment.
It's a card you can resolve. I think Heroes Hangout is just trash. I don't think you should put this card in your deck. But again, it's one of those like, we haven't fired the Cube quite enough for me to get a feel for some of the more recent cards that came in. So I'm going to put my stamp on that as the Lantern Bearer Award this year, but I could be corrected if we fired off tonight and it just like won, like, is it just 3-0'd with it or something? So, okay. The last section I'm going to throw over to you guys. So, we had some categories from last year. I didn't really mess with them that much, but if you guys want to talk about some of the like big gets by color or some of the misses and, big hits or things we were right about that other people were wrong about, feel free to use this space to talk about that. But I didn't really fill out any notes from my own personal opinion here.
So the first one is the We Were Right, Suck It. This is goes to a card which we were right about and you should suck it. I'm personally picking Zergo for this one, Zergo Stormrender. That's the Mardu 3/3 with Mobilize 1. And when a token dies, if it was attacking your opponent, loses a life, otherwise you draw a card. Is that right? Did I get that right?
That sounds right.
Might be the other way around. Draw a card if it was attacking, otherwise they lose a life. Okay. Yeah. And the card is not like doesn't look or seem like a standout. Like, and when people saw it in the Cube initially, we had some of our mainstay players be like, yeah, this card looks kind of bad. And then it immediately trophied. And it shows up like every other black-white trophy. It seems like it's solidified itself as a very solid splash card in these Mardu aggro spaces.
Right, which is, really what you're looking for a 3-color card to do most of the time, right?
Yeah, and having played against it, it's like, sometimes you just kill it for like 1 mana with your red removal spell. But a lot of times what happens is you're forced to either have a Doomblade or, oh boy, does it hurt.
Oh, that just reminded me. Can I revamp my Lantern Bearer Award and give it to Teyval the Balanced Scale?
Oh, yeah, Teyval. That's a good shout. Man, we sure played that card, huh?
Chris and I saw the vision. Other people didn't see the vision. No, we'll just put it that way. All right, Teyval is officially the 2025 Lantern Bearer Award. Big misses? Stock Up. Yeah, Stock Up is the big miss from us. It's the card that we all kind of glossed over. Even if we thought it was good, it's better than how anybody thought it was. I think that's a big surprise for a lot of people this year, especially as an uncommon. Going back to an episode we did this year about how to evaluate lower rarity cards for higher rarity cubes. It's by paying attention to cards like Stock Up.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's something. I mean, and these are level up moments, right? These are learning moments. So I think missing on these cards on occasion isn't bad as long as you readjust your heuristics, like we've talked about before, to accommodate that these cards can work. Like, be very careful when they take a historically bad effect and suddenly jack it all the way to the ceiling. I mean, Unable to Scream's kind of the poster child for this, right? Of like a card effect that is normally quite bad, but once you just remove all of the limitations on it and make the power level 11, it gets a lot better.
Some of your personal favorites this year you've got listed.
Oh, did we want to do did we have any old yellers for the year?
What, like cards we had to put down?
Cards that,
like
maybe
cards
that
we
are
like.
either we put down or
I
cards that we're going
think
to
this
be
is
putting
the year
down
we
here soon.
finally cut Wood Strider. So that gets the Old Yeller award for me. It was here for a long time. Yeah, it was here for longer than it should have been, probably.
My Old Yeller is, I will give you one guess as to what it is.
Is it mechanical in nature, blue and large?
It might be aquatic and made of metal. Yeah, finally getting to put down that old dog.
I think this deserves to go to Lightning Strike, and that's because it's my answer for Peasant too. But this is the year we finally let go of Lightning Strike.
Yeah, we finally cut Lightning Strike. This year, we already mentioned the Gear Hulk, but we cut Sublime Epiphany in conjunction with cutting the Gear Hulk. I don't see eye to eye with Teld, but also always listen to Teld, therefore you should not listen to me.
Never listen to
NTLC. Yeah, NTL. Yeah, never listen to DJ Chrissy-Chris.
This Old Yeller award will go to Blood Artist one day. That card still holds on, but it will go to Blood Artist one of these.
Like this year,
maybe it'll be
felt
next
like
year.
It got real close to getting pushed out because we got a bunch of cards that felt like that were just good for the good sack cards, like good cards like Sephiroth and Umbral Zealot that are just like, oh, we're not having to actually, fill a slot in our deck with just essentially an enchantment that you can use, creature removal on. I suspect we'll probably get another Marionette Apprentice at some, maybe not to that power level, but something in that vein, in the not too distant future.
The second we get another Vran, which is not going to be the same card as Vran, obviously it will be different, but the second that we get another like rare card that operates along this axis, that's not, how old is Blood Artist? Like 10, 12 years old now?
My guy,
2011,
yeah, I was gonna say,
2012.
This is Dark Ascension, my dude.
Oh, that's old.
Yeah.
Blood
13,
Artist
14 years.
is one more. They print another Blood Artist effect, and under current sort of conceptions of how powerful a card can be, and it'll be out.
Well, they did. It's just an alchemy card. There is an alchemy Blood Artist that we're not playing, Terror of the Road or something like that. But it's out of our wheelhouse of cards we want to play. So
they will replace it.
Yes, they will. I did not list my personal favorites of this year. I didn't really have the bandwidth to look through all the sets and think about that. But what do you guys think your favorites of the year?
Sure, Tim. Do you want to go first? Chris, do you want to go first since you have it listed out by color and it looks like you only have a couple? I think I have.
Sure. For white, my favorite print of the year is United Front. I have not had a chance to play with it yet, but we discussed this on the pod, I believe. Actually, no, we discussed it on the pod, but then I think it kind of got lost because of my incompetence. But hang on, let me find it real quick. United Front. So United Front is X white for sorcery. Create X 1/1 white ally creature tokens and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. White has always had effects that distribute +1/+1 counters or make bodies, and they tend to be just a little shy of where you want them to be, and this card is just awesome. This is exactly the kind of tokens print that I want to see from them in the future. For blue, this is not a unique print, but the fact that we got Force Spike makes me very happy because I'm a sick piece of shit. Sephiroth is my favorite card in my favorite color. That should probably come as a surprise to no one who knows anything about me. Great card. Red, I don't think we really got anything in red this year that excites me. Not to say that we didn't get good red cards. We just didn't get any red cards that make me happy on a personal level. And then for green, I think we got both Hierarchs this year, right? We got them both in the year of our Lord 2025. I like having the high arts.
Yeah.
So that's my list.
Okay. Yeah. I have quite a number of cards that I'm really glad. First, I wanted to shout out Staff of the Storyteller.
Cool card.
This card that I like playing in Commander, and very cool card to have on the client. Hasn't shown to be super oppressive, though it does feel like the kind of powerful draw engine that could be really, really good if it has the right deck. In blue, I really liked Gobin, which I think is possibly the best of the looters. I think it's the unblockable ability is really strong in a world where we now have Lingering Souls. Malcolm still has possibly a higher ceiling because of the chorus counter thing, though that doesn't come up very often. It does have 2 power as well, though Gobin usually has that by its second attack. So I think that card is has been really powerful. And I mean, obviously the Fleam meme is real, but also just being the occasional being able to flip it and like mayhem something is cool. There's like a currency converter deck, and I think being able to support that sort of strategy with a cool payoff / enabler is always nice. Dr. Fabricator is of course a super sick card. I mean, it's
great
fantastic card.
Great
Surprisingly,
card.
One of the best things about it is just that it's a 4/4 vehicle, and you can just smack your opponent in the face, and that comes up a lot. That you're not even caring too much about making dudes with it. You're just smacking your opponent in the face with it. In red, I really liked Iroh's Demonstration as a modal card. I think this is amazing modality. I really like having this mini sweeper effect to deal with cards like Lingering Souls in red. And one of my favorite red prints that isn't a removal spell of the year was Gastel Thrill Roller. It's not one we really talked about in the Aetherdrift section, but beep beep, it just goes
Great
face. 4/2 for 3 mana with Trample and Haste. And you don't even have to crew it on the first turn. It spots you that. And being able to have a little resiliency against control decks with that reanimation effect. I think this card's awesome. If you don't answer it, if it doesn't trade, I mean, we talked about this in the set review for Aetherdrift, but if it doesn't trade for something the turn you play it, it usually gets in like 6 or 8 damage. It's a wild card when it goes unanswered.
This is ball lightning for our modern times.
Yeah, very, very good. Just turn card sideways, beep, beep. And then I really like the cards Herd Heirloom and Agonosaurus Rex. Herd Heirloom is a sweet ramp card. I like that it's a ramp and value piece. Even better in Commander where you're able to build around it a little more, but just like being able to play this card and, give a creature that doesn't have trample or be able to like turn your trampler into a card draw. This is how like we want these, the scaling to work on our mana dorks. This is a really, really solid card. It does occasionally come up that the creature only mechanic on it can be annoying, but like green is, 35 of the 52 green cards are creatures. So usually it will ramp early, and then it'll also provide you with some card advantage. And yeah, Agonosaurus is cool. Like I obviously like having a really good Whatley tutor target. Like I think having a couple of those is nice. But I mean, more importantly, just the flexibility on this card that we've talked before about like how big does a vanilla creature need to be before it is big enough. And I think 8/8 for 5 with trample is getting to the territory is big enough as long as it has some buyout. And the buyout here is a little inefficient, but pretty good. Like you go up a card, you get permanent stats, and you get protection until the end of turn. So yeah, just a really strong protection effect.
Imagine back in 2017, like they're gonna print an 8/8 trample for 5. They're like, no, that's too good. Wait, there's more.
Just shit.
There's
just
more.
Shit.
That's the buyout. That's the bad part of the card.
That's the bad part of the card. Yeah.
It'd still be good if it was like a 6/6, right? Like they didn't have to go that hard.
No, they really didn't.
We like I said, we've talked about that before. There is a size that you get to where it's like, okay, you have to have a Doomblade or you're cooked.
8/8 happens to be. Yeah, I was gonna say real quick, Tim, before you give it something to say that going back to like the Esper Origins comment that I made, where I like. Because it's so rare to have like really unique feeling effects in green because of what green does, I was very pleased to get Green Sun's Zenith on the client this year.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with some janky ass art, but
yes,
it's not bad art. It's just like that movie poster stuff. It's like, this looks weird on a Magic card.
It does.
What set was that in? That was Edge of Eternities, like special guest or something.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have all mine listed out. I can tell you off the top of my head for white, it's the Mobilize 2-drop that shuts off counter spells. I'm blanking on the name.
Voice of Victory.
Yeah, I love Voice of Victory for how it plays in both like aggro and sacrifice and like tempo decks. It's just a solid damage dealer that has implications with token generation. Blue is definitely Quantum Riddler. I'm in love with that card. I don't have any qualms with the art. I don't think it's fantastic art, but I just kind of like something about the name Quantum Riddler combined with like the effect and how powerful the card is appeals to me. And then for red, Corey Steelcutter definitely sticks out. I know we're not on Corey Steelcutter anymore, but man, do I love playing that card. And that definitely speaks to my play style to some degree, because I'm a Clarion Spirit lover as well, and that card is like juiced up Clarion Spirit, so it makes sense.
You heard it here first. Tim's a 2-spell gamer.
I'm a flurry boy.
He's a flurry boy.
And then I can't really think of something off the top of my head for like black or green. I'm sure there are cards in there that I'm like, oh yeah, that's the one, but they're not.
I think I skipped black as well. There wasn't. I mean, like, there were some cool cards, but nothing that I'm just like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, I could do a quick skim, but there's really not that much that stands out to me as like, oh, this is a amazing black card. Like Quag Feast. I'm looking at Quag Feast. I'm like, that's a really cool print. It plays out well, but I don't know if I would say that's like a favorite black card of the year or anything like that. So I'll leave it at that with just those three and say, yeah, this was a powerful year for Cube. I guess closing thoughts, like. I meant to do this up front, like as a gut check, but like, how do you think 2025 fared for Cube? Erase all the like UB nonsense, like all that outside stuff, just card quality, card power, changes to Cube this year. How do you think 2025 fared?
This was like power level to the moon year, right?
Yeah, it was. The big standout thing for me is not that I think Blue got like crazy more powerful this year, and I think that's partially because of some choices we made. We'll talk about that in future episodes. But the list of blue effects that I did not consider the cube complete without is empty now. We have everything. I don't really give a fuck if we get Murktide Regent. But all of the like old blue effects that have been in cube lists since we were all twinkles, they're all here now. We've got all of it.
Yeah.
We've got...
We got them all in quick succession.
Ponder,
Preordain came out, Final Fantasy Spider-Man?
Yeah, Final Fantasy Spider-Man. We got Cryptic. We got Mystic. We got Miscalc. Did we get Remand this year? No, that was last year.
No, I mean, there's Force of Negation, which we don't play, is also came out in Avatar. Like, I keep making the joke that these bonus sheets are just here to get powerful blue cards on Arena, but it 100%. Like that.
And we also got Spike. So basically, almost all of the classically powerful blue effects that aren't like vintage cube combo pieces that I've been wanting for a long time. We have all of them, and we're at a stage in our design philosophy where we're not even playing everything that I used to lust after because it doesn't fit our design goals. But
yeah, so
we're done. We're done. Cube's finished. We're never updating it again. That should help with the fire rate. We're never updating it again. But yeah, we officially for blue, like we have everything that I have wanted since we started this project, and that's my big takeaway from 2025.
Yeah, I mean, power level went to the moon, but I mean, I think there was a lot of good this year and a lot of bad. So it was kind of a mixed bag. I mean, Aetherdrift and Omen Path really stunk on like flavor and mechanics level. I didn't really like Tarkir Dragonstorm, but Avatar Final Fantasy were both really good. So I think there was it was a bit of a mixed bag year, but I think generally speaking, I like a lot of what they were doing in designs. I think they're continuing to try and do cool things, but I it does feel like next year is going to be a rough year.
It is. It's going to start off strong. Lorwyn should be great. Strixhaven might be fine. We'll see what happens with Reality Fracture, but outside of the Hobbit, like you can't really sell me on the other three UB sets right now, given how Spider-Man went. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll be surprised by TMNT or whatever, and we'll have to put Shredder in our cube. But let's save that for next year. Let's save that.
We're gonna have to play Krang.
We're gonna have Krang next to what's the big baddie from Star Trek? Is there a big baddie? There's probably, I don't know Star Trek.
The Borg, I don't know.
Okay, well,
we're gonna get Borg Battlesphere.
Yeah, Spock next to anyway. It's funny. It's so funny that when UB started happening and Walking Dead happened, people started making these jokes about UB. They're like, haha, LOL. In 3 years, we'll be playing Optimus Prime next to Gandalf, and it's like, yeah, I mean, That actually is what happened. And now
that is a thing that occurred. Yeah.
You know, people will make the joke now, like, I don't even remember. Oh, I was telling my boss, I was like, yeah, my kid's really into Blue's Clues. And he was like, LOL, Blue's Clues secret lairs when? And I was like, you know, you make that joke, but at this point, anything's possible. No. So it's not even a joke anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, 2025, good stuff. Lots of cube stuff, powerful cube stuff to the point where we re-upped the power level of our cube with some, you know, traditional
Fable's
power
back, baby.
And put him back in. Shieldred's back. Fable the Mirror Breaker is back. Yeah, that's just how powerful cards are getting, and we'd be missing out on, I think, too much. Hey, it's on the admin doc. Let's talk Seed Shark sometime. Okay, let's wrap it up there. 2025. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the year with holidays and such. We will be back, Teld, myself, and Danelius to talk Superlatives for Peasant Cube, and stay tuned to the YouTube channel for my apology video. I am really sorry about what happened earlier this episode. I am kind of glad. I'm going to keep it in because it's just embarrassing.
No, you absolutely should.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because it's the type of thing that, like, if the comments came out and they were like, oh, is Tim from Jank Diver Gaming's secret Nazi? It'd be like, oh man, what did I do? And then I'd have to go back and find it. So I'm glad it came up immediately. But, big apologies.
These boys. They are from North Carolina. I don't know.
We're from the deep South. We like our sweet tea and cornbread.
Yep.
Oh god.
I do.
Okay.
I don't like sweet tea at all, but.
Well, shame on you. But also, I'm not allowed to drink it anymore because I'll die. That also probably factors into why I don't like Edge of Eternities. I was in the fucking hospital for 2 weeks while that set was out. I associate it with having needles in my arm. Yeah, but when I think Edge of Eternities, I think of IVs stuck in my arms, and I'm like, I don't like that set.
Yeah,
that set
yeah. Bad time.
Okay, that'll do it. Stay tuned for some peasant content, and hope everybody has a good rest of the year. We'll see you in 2026.
Happy holidays, folks.
Teld, maybe you can weigh in on this a little bit, but I'd wanted to give my quick take on the limited rankings this year for the 6 sets, the limited rankings. So bottom of the barrel is Marvel Spider-Man. Omen
Easy
Pass.
pick.
That's not actually the set I enjoyed the least, but if I'm being realistic, it is the worst set. Like, it's the one you wouldn't recommend to somebody else. So it just sucks, and we don't have to explain why it sucks. It's just not a good set.
Yeah.
On top of that, for me, I think I wanted to say Edge of Eternities for a lot of the reasons I just said, but I think it's Aetherdrift. Aetherdrift actually turned out to be a good format if you stuck with it for 4 weeks when people actually started drafting it appropriately. But if you only drafted it for like a week or two, or you're the normal person who only did like a week 1 draft, it was dominated by green. And I'm not sure a vehicle set is even like that fun to begin with. So
yeah, I also think I think it has to lose points for its primary set mechanics also kind of sucking. Like the when your set is a death race vehicle set and the set is both plottingly slow and the vehicles are bad, I think you failed on all fronts in terms of the flavor matching the feel of the set.
And you create a mechanic called speed that takes 3 turns to do anything. Yeah, it's for what we said for Cube, it was a successful set for Cube, but for Limited, it took too long to get people to actually correct for green, and I think that hurt it way too much. And then once it did kind of flounder it out, it was like, oh, it's a vehicle set. I don't know how interesting that is.
Based on what you're saying, I'm guessing that Tarkir Dragonstorm is going to be above Edge of Eternity for you.
Yes, and that's maybe controversial. I would put Edge of Eternities next as like this is kind of middle. This is where we're getting into like decent sets. I don't think Edge is atrocious, but I think the lack of mana fixin', the kind of like terrible bonus sheet for Limited, just this trash bonus sheet with like sometimes you got Ancient Tomb or Strip Mine and sometimes you got Meteor Crater or whatever, is just like, what are we doing with this bonus sheet? And I didn't find the gameplay particularly interesting. Like, it was another one that was dominated by blue-green for like 3 weeks, and then people adjusted, and then you could do some other stuff. But again, my hospital visit did not do me any favors. It's kind of how I hate Strixhaven, or not Strixhaven. I hate original Throne of Eldraine because bot drafted on Arena was terrible, but that's not like the full story. It's just kind of a personal thing for EOE. I didn't find it very compelling.
I probably would swap this with Tarkir. We could talk about that set in just a second. But also, I don't feel like I played enough of either of those sets to have any real opinion. Like, Through the Omen Pass was so egregiously bad that you knew after like 2 drafts that this set kind of sucked. And I played a little bit of Aetherdrift, enough to decide that I didn't really enjoy that set. But I don't feel like I drafted either of these sets very much because the play patterns were both kind of just dookie for me.
That's fair. And I think people will agree with you on TDM. That seems to be like a Battlefield set where half the people loved it, half the people hated it. So
if you like
there's no
Battlecruiser
middle
Magic,
ground.
I think that was a cool set, but like it felt like you either, from what I saw and what I drafted and what I talked about with people, it felt like you either got into like the soupy big mana Dragon Z decks, or you got into like very low to the ground aggro, and it was very hard to be somewhere in the middle and have like mid-rangey play patterns.
Which I guess since we're on it, TDM is my second favorite of the. I have Avatar next above Edge of Eternities, and I have TDM above that. But just to kind of give Tarkir Dragonstorm its due, like the story coming out of that is that there were 2 decks, what like Teld just mentioned. There was Boros aggro, blisteringly fast decks that were very well supported, and then there were kind of soup 4-color, 5-color dragon / play all the good stuff decks with a lot of expensive bombs. And there was kind of that dichotomy. Every now and then you would slip in like an Abzan deck or something, but it just didn't happen that often. But I found that those 2 decks that the format revolved around were both really fun to play, and also really you could tune them to be good against the other deck. So I thought the dynamic, even though it was kind of boiled down to 2 decks, I thought the dynamic of those 2 decks was really fun. And I like the art, I like the mechanics. They are boring mechanics, but I think they play well. So I'll give you the boring side of that, but I don't think boring necessarily means bad from a gameplay perspective. And it is big ass dragons. I'm a Timmy. My name's literally Timmy. I love big dragons. So
Sure.
I'm one of those Tarkir truthers who really likes KTK as well. So
yeah. And then I think we both agree Avatar second best set of the year. Like real good. This is what we're getting. I would say. I have.
Oh, sorry. I have Avatar below TD. I have Avatar below TDM. And
okay.
I would not have 2 weeks ago. The first week I would have had Avatar as number 2, but after playing with it, like going into week 3, like a lot of the cracks have shown up with the insane bomby nature. It's the bombiest set of the year by far. And not only does it have like the best rares of the year and so many of them, but the commons are terrible. So like there's this huge delta between the power level of cards, and then there's just like blue and white are just so dominant compared to the other 3 colors that it's like not even funny. So I think as much as I've enjoyed it and there's cool designs, I think I am not pushing it down a notch from where I originally had it.
That's fair. I will admit I haven't played at all this week, so I haven't seen the format really develop. I've been playing a game called Fellowship, and it's a banger, and I've been really distracted by it. So I've not really played a ton of Avatar, so I'll take you on that one. I do think having thought about the sets though, and like thinking about what I really enjoyed, like Final Fantasy was like clear best set of the year. I mean, at this point,
it's the best. We agree on that.
Yeah, and it to the point that I think Final Fantasy might get into that tier of sets that's like this is an all-timer, like top 5, top 10 type set.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard to point to any particular reason why outside of just everything played well. Like it was a very balanced format. I know LSV goes on his little thing about balance isn't the most important thing in game design. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But also I enjoy the ones that are balanced more than the ones that aren't. So
yeah, I think there's sets that are unbalanced that I've enjoyed a lot. And there's some sets that I really like. I like Midnight Hunt a lot. And that set is notoriously unbalanced. And I really enjoy it. But I do think the balance in Final Fantasy worked to its favor. I think as the format went on, it got a little soupier than I like and a little less proactive. Like I think the white decks could have, or maybe the non-white proactive decks, assertive decks could have been just a touch better. But I feel like there's a lot of things to be doing in that format. You've got a lot of shells you can be getting into. And I think all of that led to just a really great format that felt like a love letter to a series that I'm really fond of. And just in general, I think even the bombs, it was cool because a lot of the bombs were these like 8 mana bombs that, you knew they were coming when your opponent was playing a certain way. You oftentimes just kind of were like, yeah, I know you're going to play this card. And so you could craft your game plan around trying to like get under them or having a counter spell up for when they got their Arden or their Knights of the Round out or something like that.
Yeah. And speaking of which, Final Fantasy was a godsend for the Jank Diver gaming community, because if you streamed a draft on the JDG server, you were guaranteed to open Arden. I don't know that I ever viewed, like, I joined someone's draft. They're like, hey, I'm going to draft Final Fantasy. Boom, Arden, pack one, pick one every single time. I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Or Kieran gets past it, like, sixth pick or whatever.
Arden, like, probably one of the best pack one, pick ones in recent memory, too, just because the card is so committal, and, like, when you get it early, you can build your whole deck around it, and it's so overbearingly powerful, too.
Yeah, it is really funny if you wrap up the year limited wise. It's very clear that Spider-Man is last. It's very clear that Final Fantasy's first, and then you can quibble about where all the other ones land. But I think like the D tier stuff is Spider-Man and Aetherdrift, and then everything else. If you told me you liked one of those sets more than I did, like I wouldn't fight you over it. But Final Fantasy is a clear winner for 2026. On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 treasure tokens, 11 elvish pipers, 10 vivies pinging, 9 fleams of fleaming, 8 millstones milling, 7 +1 counters, 6 dino tutors, 5 golden eggs. 4 combat tricks, 3 bolt bends, 2 turtle ducks, and a bulk box full of old sleeves. Happy holidays, homies.